Resolution?
Resolution 2A is a resolution appointing a subcommittee to review the Hamilton Township Animal Shelter.
Just for some background on this, I know folks have been well aware of the animal shelter and the animal issue at the Hamilton Animal Shelter. Just steps going forward. In June, it was mentioned by my vice president that we would like to conduct investigation. There was a meeting in July. We had a meeting in July which was at the Nottingham Ballroom. It was a packed house where we postponed the public hearing because of other allegations. In the meantime, we, as a council body, became aware of a state inspection that took place the day before of that council meeting. Going forward, this was what I felt was a good path moving forward. This was the first step, this resolution, in establishing an investigation committee which could complement what the state inspection had put in place and some of the changes that were going to happen at the animal shelter. So this first step, under legal's advice, we originally had it as a 5-member body. However, I was told since it's an investigation committee, it needed to be a 2-member, or it needed to be only council members only on the committee itself, which doesn't preclude us from bringing folks in, and obviously that's going to be something that we do. But the 2 individuals that I've selected for this committee, this investigation committee, are Councilman Rick Ty and Councilwoman Ileana Shermer. So,
Mr. President, if I could, if the resolution that's in your packet on the
Lindsay, just.
the mic's on. The paragraph.
You can't hear? They still can't
Hello?
hear. Want to try a different mic?
Hello?
Speak into the mic.
All right.
Try that into
Sorry. Be it further resolved where it determines the membership of the committee, if you change the 5 to 2, and then after 2 council members, just eliminate the remainder of that paragraph, and then the rest of the resolution is fine.
Okay.
Mr. President, I think you also just want to announce the council is still going to be hiring an attorney to help
Correct.
the subcommittee. Per town rules, that has to go out to bid, which the bid has to be open for a certain number of days, and then has to be, all the bids need to be submitted to council, for council to choose among the attorneys, for then that attorney to work solely on this issue with the council and the investigation committee.
Correct.
Okay.
That would hopefully, that would be on our September 21st, I believe is our next council meeting in September. September 21st council agenda. 18th, is it? 18th. And in addition to that, moving forward, we are going to conduct a public hearing as a council body at some point following that appointment, or that appointment of our specific attorney assigned to the animal shelter investigation. And then we're hoping to have a report back within 60 to 75 days by Ileana and Rick. So that would be something that, based on their findings and their investigation and the ability to bring folks forward. So that's the goal of this resolution. It's the first step. And if anyone has, let's do a motion, and then we'll have a second, then we'll have a public comment on the issue. Just so everyone's aware, specifically regarding the resolution, no public comments on the resolution topic. At the end of the meeting, if you want to discuss any animal issues, feel free. That's at the public comment portion. But this, I appreciate if you can just stick to this investigation committee and any comments towards that. So,
Mr. President, I'd just like to make a comment. As far as me, as we all know, as I mentioned last meeting, I'm an animal lover.
No, they can't hear.
I'm sorry. Hello? Anybody out there? All right. I'm an animal lover, as I said. I do have a concern with using tax dollars to hire an attorney. Obviously, there were some serious allegations. A lot of the issues that came up were addressed. I believe there was, it was in the Trenton Times, all the, you know, like about plans for a new display and new bottles and LED lights and all that stuff. There was no, in the report, in the state report, there wasn't anything regarding any animal cruelty or animal. That's There wasn't. That's why I have an issue with hiring an attorney for it. I have no problem with the committee. Can I talk?
Please, let the.
I have no problem.
Please.
I have no problem with the committee trying to do what's best for the animal shelter. And like I said, I'm an animal lover myself, but there's, in my opinion, I don't think we should spend tax dollars hiring an attorney for it. That's my opinion.
May I comment on that?
Yeah.
The reason we would like to hire an attorney is for our protection and for those that we interview's protection, to make sure that we are following the proper rules in interviewing and asking for information and also the employee's rights. So we have members up here who have a notice of claim against them. They have every right to want an attorney to make sure that nothing, that we, at the end of this report and at the end of this process, no one can come back to us and say, well, you failed to do this, therefore this is no good, and blah, blah. So the attorney is very much needed. It's very much in the favor of the investigation and of counsel, so I disagree with your statement there.
There's nothing in the report reporting any animal abuse or animal cruelty.
Yes, there is. Please finish us. Look up Title 4.
Guys, I would appreciate if no one calls out. Let's move forward with, do we have a motion? Any comment?
So, we'll take public
We'll take
comment
them,
after,
yeah.
unless Rob's done.
Yeah.
You done?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. President, with the edits that Mr. Burbidge put in the record, I'd like to move Resolution 2A.
Second.
Okay. Any public comment regarding this matter? Specifically regarding the committee? Yes. Wait, I'm sorry. Jana, you can come up first. I'm sorry. I'll get everyone here.
Good evening, my name is Jana Scheinman, 2544 Liberty Street. I'm actually in support of council getting their own attorney because of the fact that these allegations, one, there is the open notice of claim for several members of the body, as well as the fact that you're investigating a municipal entity right now. So to have the counsel for the town actually acting as the attorney for both would create a conflict of interest. So it's actually, you're doing the right thing by hiring an attorney to be able to protect everybody's interest in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you get her? You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. Gary.
They just don't make them the way they used to. I have a couple of questions. You had mentioned that.
Your name and address, if you wouldn't mind, Gary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gary Agarone, West McGuire Avenue. Council had mentioned that there are two entities that are doing an investigation, one being the state and the other being the township itself. My first question is, with these two investigations, presumably they're going to be independent. Would there be any cooperation between the two? I'm not quite sure I know how that would work, because every government agency has their own way of doing things. And I'm just curious if they would be willing to share information and work together towards the common goal, which I believe everybody is in agreement of, protecting the animals. The other thing is, Township will report between 60 and 75 days about what their findings are. Is there anything that can be done in the means prior to this. From what I'm hearing, what's happening to those animals is terrible, and I know everybody cares. Is there anything that the council can do before they issue a report? Those are my two questions. And I hope you take them consider them seriously, and perhaps you could let us know next.
So Gary, when this idea first came up, I mean, my hope, I'm not on the subcommittee or investigation committee or whatever you wanna call it, right? But, I mean, if I was, one of the things I would do is reach out, and I know the town already has, reach out to the state DOH officials and go over line by line what they found and why that's important and things like that, right? And my understanding is the DOH officials have already worked with the town, so I'm sure they'd be willing to work with this investigation committee as well. In terms of steps that can be taken by the council, obviously the council's role is oversight as well as legislation, right? Through ordinances and approving things
Yes.
through resolution. The day-to-day operation of the shelter is under the township, and I know the town and the Grafstad has already done a number of things to address a number of the issues in the state report, right? But on the day-to-day management, council has no legal authority to do anything to address some of those concerns that I know you and others have.
Have you ever considered illegal?
I have not.
There's no recourse, you're saying. I understand the point that you're making, and I respect that. But it just seems sad that nothing can be done now. That's all I'm saying. And I think you share that opinion.
Well, Mr. Agarona, I would just note that we ceased our policy of allowing owners to bring their pets to the shelter to be euthanized. In the 2018, that was over 80% of the euthanasia was owner surrendered, animals that were very sick, they were very critical ill.
Can we let the man talk,
It
please?
was over 50% in other years.
Can he not lie?
Was owner surrendered. So we've stopped the owner
He doesn't
surrender.
lie.
So
Well,
we've
speak
done
up,
that
I can't hear
already.
you.
All right, and that seemed to be one of the major issues. In terms of, I know there's always been, most of the other things in the report, we have satisfied. You know, I really would appreciate if some of you people would listen.
We're talking, you had
Listen,
the Ralph up
please.
there, you keep ever talking you,
Okay,
this
so-
gentleman over here.
So significant action has already been taken. I reached out to the Humane Society 3 or 4 weeks ago to get input from Brian Hackett, so I'll be talking to him again, to any instructions they give us. We met with Dr. Carter recently to go over things. He's made some certain recommendations to us. And we're looking for a new veterinarian, shelter veterinarian, and we have several that we still work with, including Columbus and others, so the veterinary care will still be provided.
With all due respect, I don't know what the statistics are on the point that you raised about euthanasia. But I'd be interested in seeing a report that would confirm that, no disrespect to Ted.
Okay, yeah. Well, we have those numbers together. We had gotten those numbers together. And I think I announced them at the last meeting, but we have those. All right, you're welcome.
Thank you.
My name is Don Adams from 40 Christopher Drive in Hamilton. I just want to say my daughter, Kristen Adams, sent an email to all of you council people. I believe you probably read her email. What I want to find out is with this investigation you're doing, is this just going to be a report outlining what you found, or is there, at the end of this investigation, is anyone going to be accountable for all this issues that have been happening at the animal shelter?
Yes, I'd like to address that. Councilman Tai and I have discussed this, and we are going into this investigation to look at everything.
Okay.
Everything, from every piece of paper, to every stat, to every action, to talk to the employees, to talk to everyone we need to talk to gather our facts. Because in the end, what we want to do and like to do is present, number one, the findings, what we saw based on what we did, looking at the state report, using that as a guide, but what we see in our investigation. And we've been doing a lot of that already, in terms of
Okay.
looking at data, gathering information. We've been doing a lot of that. In the end, also, we want to call out those who need to be called out. We want to recommend actions that we feel should be taken, if any, of course. But we want to make sure that those that need to be held accountable are held accountable. Processes that need to change. And we're not looking to disband ourselves and go away after the report is handed over. Whatever recommendations we see, whether we go with another organization that can run the center, or whether we continue to run the center, but we're looking to maintain oversight of that center. Once everything is recommended, everything is done, we're not just going to present it, say this is what we think, and then walk away. That's not going to happen. No, it will not happen. I can guarantee.
I mean, well, I guess what I'm wondering is, does the council, or who would have the power, say, you do your investigation, you find out certain people are negligent, to maybe let them be replaced with someone who can do the job? Do you have the power to do that, or is that?
Lindsay, I don't know if you'd like to address that, but let us not forget that we can make recommendations. The administration, I believe in the end, has to.
This investigatory committee can make their investigation, make recommendations if they feel discipline or whatever needs to be done to hold people accountable if necessary. Those recommendations can be made to the administration, but under the Faulkner Act, the council does not have the authority to actually take the discipline themselves. They would have to make the recommendation to the administration, and any discipline or action against an employee would have to come from the administration.
From the mayor's office?
Correct.
Okay.
So we are gonna be depending on the mayor to implement any changes that we recommend. One of my goals is that as a body or as a committee, that we do provide some form of oversight to verify that once we've given a full accounting of the facts, of the problems that we found, of the potential solutions to those, once we've identified best practices about how we want our shelter to be run as we move forward in Hamilton, we want to be able to verify that the needed changes are in fact being made on an ongoing basis, for such time as we see fit. These are long-standing problems. It's not gonna be solved overnight. There's a lot of work to be done.
Sure, I appreciate that. Like I say, my gut feeling from what I know is going on and everything, like I said, I know we have to wait for the report and everything, but I'm hoping that whoever's managing the shelter is replaced, is my feeling.
Dave, out of all the violations that we've had through the state report, what hasn't been taken care of? Pretty much all of it's been done, right?
Well, we're obviously still dealing with some record keeping, which was not, which was faulted and rightfully so. Other than that, I'm not sure, I know all of the kennels were being repainted, and it may have been completed by now. I was out there Saturday, they were starting to put first. Well, that was one of the major ones. The other minor ones, keeping open food containers in closed trash cans, that's all been taken care of. There was,
Please.
I can't think of anything else that maybe hasn't been completed, but obviously we want a new veterinarian to oversee the shelter as well. So, off the top of my head, I can't think of what hasn't been done. Everything's in the process of being done, but I think most of it's been accomplished already.
In your opinion, was there anything in that report that indicated there was any type of animal abuse or cruelty?
He's not a Hilo officer, he can't answer that.
He can't answer that.
In his opinion, I said.
You know what? How about we do this? How about we just stay focused on the,
I was about to call for a point of order.
how about we just stay focused on the, resolution that's in front of us and the committee? So, go ahead, Mr. Van Wagner, your name and your address, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hanson, 235 Hanson Avenue, best darn street in Hamilton Township. The name is Mark Van Wagner. Hey, so I want to clarify, and you guys can do that for me, so let me get some guidance here. We're talking about an investigative committee that's going to be formed by the two council members named tonight. And that under the Faulkner Act, that is what council does. It investigates and it reaches its conclusions and finds and presents the facts to the administration, in this case, the mayor. In our form of government, mayor council, the mayor then can act through the administration, and the townspeople can voice their opinions directly to the mayor and the mayor's administration through the mayor's office. And I believe the council indicated that, Mr. Burbridge, the township attorney, indicated that the mayor can then, if they deem it appropriate, take disciplinary action against the employees. But council does have the opportunity to recommend removal of officers, if I am correct, under the Faulkner Act, if they find that somebody due to cause has not fulfilled their responsibilities, that's done something so egregious that the recommendation should be to take them out of position according to the Faulkner Act. And the mayor would have final say with potential override. Now, is that an accurate description?
Yes.
Okay. I look forward to your findings. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, Mr.
Wendy Sturgeon, 244 Lander Drive. I want to thank council for looking in and having this resolution. It's about time, and so long as I stay on topic here, I know I'm okay. So I know you'll look into the 46 cats that were put down, including kittens, in one day, last May 2017. And I know you'll be looking into the horrendous euthanasia records, which I'm sure you'll be looking at all the records, and I'm sure your findings will be the same as many of us once you look at that data, and I'm sure you have already. So besides, I'm just asking this question, and I'm sure you're doing this, besides replacing the paper towels and the LED lights, and was I talking about the overtime? Oh, excuse me. I know you're gonna be looking into all of it. I have all of your confidence, and I totally look forward to a lot of advertising for when you have a meeting to the public, because you see this, we'll get 10 times as many people. Thank you again.
Anyone wishing to comment on the resolution? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Resolution passes 5-0. Moving on to consent agenda items 3A through 3G for your consideration.
Mr. President, I just have a couple of abstentions. Madam Clerk, 3 ends in November, O is in Oscar, E is in Papa,
Sorry, no,
S is in Sierra.
3N, November.
Okay, O is in Oscar, P is in Papa, S is in Sierra, and T is in Tango.
So noted.
I mean, I have one abstention. 3Z as in zebra.
0. Okay. Anyone else? Jefferson, 3C.
No other abstentions.
Okay.
Motion.
Motion closed.
Yeah, motion. Questions, yeah. Can I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion. Consent agenda 3A through 3.
Everyone, if we could just keep it down and back, please, thank you.
Three GG.
Wait, I have a question.
I'll second.
Thank you, Elisa.
Okay, now, we're gonna move to public comment no, I'm sorry, Ileana, I'm sorry, Councilwoman, go ahead.
Thank you. Regarding consent agenda item 3A, which is an appointment to the Cultural Affairs and Performing Arts Advisory Commission, Mr. Kenny, I had submitted very qualified individuals for this commission who were interviewed, and here we are having one person being requested to be appointed who has nothing to do with arts, has nothing to do with cultural. Why is this person even on this agenda?
He expressed an interest in serving his community on this committee, just as others do for planning board, zoning board, or other matters. And,
So, no. So the other individuals that I submitted, who were very qualified, who are in the arts, have interviewed and are not even being considered on this appointment.
No, that's not to say they're not being considered, they are being considered.
Oh,
I
man,
expected
this-
to have one more name.
No. I have submitted this months and months ago. We are dragging our feet. The individual that is looking to be appointed to this commission, there is no way I will approve this individual. This is an individual that has nothing to do with the arts, will bring nothing to the committee. And also, this is an individual that at the last council meeting sat in the room heckling the people that came up to the podium that were in support of the animal investigation. Heckling them every time they spoke up. This is not an individual that will represent the cultural committee in a positive manner, nor is somebody I would even want to sit next to.
Please,
You know
listen,
what?
listen, going forward, I can't have any comments from the public when it's not appropriate. Councilwoman Shermer's up speaking.
Yes, so I am asking, and hopefully my councilman, I am speaking, you can speak later. I am asking my council members to please not move forward with this appointment. This is not an appointment that I will definitely support, no way. I don't even want to make a motion to table it because I don't even want him on this appointment. So do we table to just remove it from the resolution?
Vote on it, see how it goes.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Let me get my little thoughts here. Resolution 3I, hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, 3I, which is the corrective action plan for the annual audit. Mr. Kenny, are these just the only items right now?
It's the only items that arose out of the audit, yes.
Okay. Hold on, I'm trying to find it here. And all these items, the few that, because there's just a few, they've all been resolved, correct? They're all being corrected at this point?
Yes, and it's also obviously on an ongoing basis to make sure these don't occur again.
Forgive me, there's just quite a bit here. The 3FF, which is medical marijuana. On that, it has cultivate. I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Cultivate means to grow.
It's growing only, there's no dispensary element involved.
And the people that would grow this would sell it. How are they looking to move this product around?
Well, it's
I was gonna say wholesale, would it be through wholesale?
This is for medical purposes only. This was suggested by Mr. Carabelli and Mr. Martin because there's a deadline of August 31 that applicants who want to have a site to cultivate, apparently there will only be 2 in central New Jersey, they have to have consent of the governing body or an indication the governing body would approve it in the future, and then they also have to have apparently a lease or own property or an interest or a contract to buy property. So, no one knows if this will happen, but this was suggested by Council President Mr. Martin, so it's on the agenda for the council to consider.
Right, and if I understand it, we may not even, just because we say we would be open to it, doesn't mean we even get it in the end, correct?
Correct.
Probably the odds are against
Yes,
getting it,
yeah.
since it's all central New Jersey
Okay.
for 2 applications.
And if the medical marijuana, that's something when we talked about, the mayor supports just the cultivation of the medical as well, right?
I think the mayor still has concerns about anything with marijuana in the township, but obviously the governing body can show its support.
When we talked, you relayed that the mayor was supportive of something
Well,
limited to medical only.
I think I said she was on the fence about the medical, I
No,
mean,
you didn't, Dave.
I expressed my view that I think that, you know, the medical's a lot different than retail or recreational use. But I think that, but the mayor still has some issues with it. I don't know where she wants to go with this. But I think for this August 31 deadline, I'm not clear that you need that approval. It's more from the governing body, is my understanding.
Is the mayor going to, my understanding walking out of that meeting was the mayor was willing to put forward her support of resolution 3FF. Did I get that reading wrong?
I think you may have, because she has indicated to me she has concern. She has not made a decision as to where she wants to go on this.
Then why did you tell us in that meeting that the mayor supported medical only?
I didn't tell you that. I told you, I thought that that was less of an issue than recreational. I didn't say that the mayor supported it.
Well, even if she turned it down, we can override it. Oh, it's a resolution, that's right. Oh, forget it. Yeah. Okay. Oh, another one. 3K, which is the resolution authorizing administrator to solicit proposals for competitive contracting of concessions at the athletic fields at Veterans Park and Warwick Park. We have talked about that even during the budget reviews, and we've talked about it many times about this throughout the years. Now, I think it's a great idea if we have space in the parks for people to advertise their banners. That's what it's for, right? I want to make sure.
Well,
it's-
it'd be signs in the outfield, on the fences.
Right, which is fine.
Advertising.
The one thing I had asked last time about this was, for those that currently do that, where does the money go? It was, the money goes in the general fund, which is then utilized wherever. But I don't recall ever seeing a line item of all the monies collected for things, for these solicitations.
I think part of the problem is those signs were put up under 1-year contracts, and there really hasn't been any revenue for a while. And we have a lot of interest from local companies that want to have these signs out there, so you put it out to bid so you get the maximum price, because we really don't know what the market will bear.
Out for bid? What do you mean? I'm confused.
They're gonna have to bid on how much they wanna pay for it to get the space. And if we have more bidders than we have space, it'll go to the highest bidders.
Oh, I thought, for example, you know, in a basketball game, baseball game, you see the banner of a company.
Now,
And
these will be permanent signs at Veterans Park, on the outfield fences, at Warwick Park, on those fences there in the outfields.
Permanent signs? Permanent?
Yeah, they'll be 1 year.
Oh,
1 year
so
deals.
1 year.
Yeah. But they're not gonna be
Yeah, it's not
banners.
permanent.
They'll be
That's 1 year.
made of, either plastic or
He went to law school.
durable.
See, I would be comfortable with this resolution if they had a line item where the monies collected go back into that particular field or into the parks, instead of just going into a general fund and then losing track of how that money is actually utilized. So, I mean, I would support this, but I need to know that this money would be tracked and we'll be able to say, okay, we're making X amount of money for these advertisements. This X amount of money can be utilized back into the fields.
There would be, the receipts would show how much income is generated by this, just like income from other special events and things.
Yeah, but saying that the money's, yeah, we can see the money's coming in, but to know that it's going into a fund that is specifically for the parks.
I don't know if you can really dedicate the money. It would then go into a trust fund rather than the general revenue. I mean, we're not talking huge money here.
No, but we're talking tracking money.
But you start to segregate money all the time, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, money's fungible, so we're gonna move it around. We certainly put
Please.
significant money into the parks every year.
I know, and it'd be nice to know, okay, if we're doing this, if we're doing X for this, you know, raising money here, and then we may be doing something else, it's a nice way of being able to see, all right, we've generated this amount of money can now go into the parks or into whatever we need at the park, versus just the general fund that we're pulling from, but we're never really getting an idea of the monies coming in that are being utilized for that.
Well, you see a revenue line, I can assure you, we spent a lot more money on the parks than this will ever generate.
I know, but it's,
So,
geez, it's not that difficult,
I don't think that's the decision before you tonight.
This, I don't think I'm asking anything unreasonable here. I don't know how the other council members feel, but I don't think it's unreasonable.
Dave, I guess one question, follow-up question. We started this year. This was something that was started this year, the
Yes.
signage. How much revenue was raised? Do we know?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I just know we had a lot of interest expressed, but to do it the proper way is to bid it.
Okay.
Yes, we should, but I'd like to hear what the other council members say as well, because it can't just be me saying it and no one backing it. Because if I don't support it, but they support it, it goes nowhere with what I've recommended. That's kind of, you know,
So,
it's,
this is a new program. You know, my inclination is to pass this resolution as written, to monitor it, and to see if we can improve it next year. That's my inclination.
all right, then you guys can comment on that when it goes to your turn. I think I'm good on this, something else, for discussion.
How come no other council members saying anything? Where's Carvella here? Is he supposed to be running this or what?
Please, everyone, listen. We can't hear each other, and it's inappropriate for Madam Clerk to. She needs to take good minutes. So, and if she's not getting the recording, it's not going to work. I need you to keep the comments and the noise level down, if you would, as we go forward. I know that you got a lot of energy in the room, and you want to make yourself heard, but that can be done at the public comment portion. I appreciate it, and when we get to that shortly.
Like I said, I contacted Mr. Getty and had a couple questions earlier. She said, no.
So, I'm inclined to be supportive of tabling Resolution 3A. I don't see any reason why, Councilwoman Shermer's work to find good candidates for this commission, why we can't be placing some of those folks on the board as well as
I think
the
at least
mayor's
two of them are
choices.
now, and then there's Mr. Pye, no relation to you,
No relation.
who approached the mayor and interested.
All those that submitted and have expressed interest and met with and took time out of their day to come in and meet with Marty or whomever deserve to be on this. They're very excited, but we've lost almost a year of this nonsense with the mayor playing her games.
I'm sorry, I wasn't on here, I'm sorry. I'm just saying that I've submitted such great people, there's no reason to be playing these games, and I'm sure the mayor is playing it just because she wants to be vindictive about this, but we have good candidates, no reason for this committee to not be active. This is very frustrating and very embarrassing when you have good people that really express an interest, give up their time to come in and interview, and then are treated like this. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Let's not forget that the arts can be an economic engine for this township. It's been an underutilized asset that I believe we have in Hamilton. I commend Councilwoman Shermer for the work that she's done to try to get this dormant committee started back up again, and to be supportive of her efforts. I'm going to make a motion that we table Resolution 3A.
I'll second.
And you know what? The Director of Economic Development should be all over this. He should be pushing this forward. but instead we get resistance. This is what we're dealing with here.
Hey, Dave, how many are we short right now? We're filling the 9, it's a 9-member body, correct?
Is it 9 or should we do it to 7?
9.
9 still? I think this would have been short.
Can we shoot for September for just everyone?
Yeah, we can have some more.
I even have additional individuals that I haven't even submitted because I don't want to put them through this embarrassing process.
Councilwoman Schumer, how many candidates have you put forward to the mayor's office for this?
Probably, if I'm off the top of my head, about 7, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was 5.
And there's more that I haven't even sent in.
Well, if we could do it all in one swoop, that would be,
You should.
recommended for our September meeting. That would be a good idea, just to get the committee up and running, have it fully functioning and fully the membership at it where it should be, where it was enacted to be. So
Just to clarify, you want to table until the September?
that's fine.
Okay.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
No.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 4-1.
All right, Councilman Ty, you're done. Councilman Moore.
Dave, 3H deals with the South Broad Street, Streetgate grant that we're applying for. And 3S deals with this, construction of the South Broad Street Community Parking Lot. Are those, I don't wanna be starting a parking lot and then we tear it up to do, or have big machines on a streetscape if we get the grant. Are they near each other, or are they get,
No, that wouldn't be involved with the streetscape, so.
Okay.
Those would be coordinated.
okay.
Where is that parking lot? But I'm just trying to, I drive down South Broad every day and I can't picture where that's located.
It's right by Layler.
Where?
There's that parking lot. There's a parking lot on Broad. If you come off if you're coming from the river on Layler and you make a right, I believe we're talking about the parking lot that's on your left. It's like an eighth of a mile up. If you're heading toward White Horse Circle, there's a parking lot there.
Just before Chambers.
On what side of the street?
Same side. Southbound side.
Broad and Harrison.
Okay.
Okay.
Harrison Avenue. Yes, Harrison Avenue.
Harrison.
Where to put the old
And then
police station.
3V as in Victor is the surplus. One of the items was 200 bikes. Are those like push pedal bicycles? Yeah.
Oh, you didn't abandon those.
I did, a couple of the cores have been removed from this. And we're also gonna see if we can use the radios,
No longer.
with someone else, before we auction those. But yeah, two of the cores have been removed from that. I didn't notice that.
It's like the second to last line of the spreadsheet.
My understanding, their pedal bikes have been confiscated or found in the park.
All right, because these aren't like, we had a comment one time about like police bikes and
Yeah,
Veterans Park.
I
and
don't
all
think
that.
we've ever bought 200 bikes.
Well, I couldn't imagine that we had. I was gonna say we can save 2, right?
Yeah.
If they're out of 200. Okay, that's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Dave, I just had one on 3B, the license agreement with the grounds for sculpture.
Yes.
Why now is that? Is it just because there were,
They expire from time to time, they're not very long, and they prefer short-term leases because they interchange a lot of the art.
okay.
So
And these are the
this-
2 heads that are on 295?
This particular one, I believe, are the 2 individuals, yeah.
Okay.
But you'll see these.
I've been thrown off that commission if you were considering. I was joking.
You'll see these periodically because they don't all expire at the same time.
Okay, okay, okay.
So the council, I did want to note that unfortunately, recycling is going up
I saw
40%
that.
next year. Apparently, the recycling market has collapsed, so the county is imposed, the best bid they got was a 40% increase, which is obviously significant cost increase to taxpayers throughout the county.
One question on the recycling services. I've been noticing a lot of shredded glass. It seems to, when the pickup, the trucks come through, they seem to be leaving a trail of shredded glass. I've been noticing it more. I don't know if other folks are noticing this. If the administration could follow up with the county, that would be appreciated. People shouldn't have to be dodging broken glass on the road every couple of weeks after those trucks pass through.
Look at 3
But our good news on the agenda is the contract with PSE&G. When they pay 70% of the cost, we pay 30%, but it's an interest-free loan. And the projections are we'll cover the amount of the loan with the utility savings that we have every month. Especially the police department, you have significant savings because it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
You beat me to the punch. That was something that I was gonna compliment the administration on. Very, very nice. And also, do I have anything else? 3D. That was 3D.
That's it.
Yeah, that was my note.
That's
All right, that was my
all.
note. You got it. Okay. No other comments from me. Can I have comments from the public on the consent agenda? Yes.
Good evening, Dennis Pone, 40 Carnegie Avenue. 3 quick things. One, I would agree with the cultivation of medical marijuana in Hamilton. Gary, you and I might agree on something for that politically. But, you know, I don't really understand why that would be a problem. I actually have talked to somebody who is interested in doing that, and it's supposed to be a very clean operation. It's not something that, you know, that the public would have any adverse effects from. It's coming. It's medical marijuana, not recreational marijuana. So I just wanted to say that I'm definitely in favor of that particular item. Secondly, I do not agree with dedicating the funds for the signs. I think, first of all, we spend, you know, to my recollection, so much more money on the parks than we will ever get from those signs to put the money into a dedicated fund. And of course, through the budget process, you certainly can see what comes in and what goes out, so that's not a big deal. But I mean, the amount of money you're gonna make on those signs is not gonna even touch the amount of money that's gonna be spent on the park. So putting it into a dedicated fund just becomes cumbersome for the CFO and some of the financial people. So I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't recommend it.
It's a journal entry.
And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pope. Mr. Anderson.
David Henderson, 92 Sharps Lane. I was interested in asking a couple of questions about consent item 3E, resolution authorizing a public health shared services partnership. I guess my question would be, what's the net benefit for Hamilton Township to that shared services agreement? E.
The benefit is there was no cost to us. It's a partnership with Mercer County for preparedness and response to bioterrorism, outbreaks of infectious disease, and other public health threats and emergencies. And for to coordinate with the county, I think is certainly in the best interest of the citizens of Hamilton.
Okay, we have 9 shared services agreements with other municipalities. What's the net benefit to Hamilton Township in those? Let's, for example, I'll ask you, we have a shared services agreement for health services for Upper Freehold Township. What's the net benefit to Hamilton Township for the shared services agreement with Upper Freehold Township?
Yeah. Mr.
No, it has to do with shared services. It has to do with this item, and I want to make some comments as to why
You're connecting it to the.
we shouldn't enter into shared services agreements. What's the net benefit to the Upper Freehold Township Shared Services to Hamilton Township?
Revenue,
What revenue do we have?
the amount that's called for in the contract.
How much did we get this year?
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't
Zero.
have my budget in front of
We
me.
got zero so far this year. Zero. I did an Oprah request. We got zero.
Okay, they haven't paid the bill yet, but the contract calls for a certain amount of money.
I asked you at the last meeting if anybody has a benefit, anybody gets paid. Your answer was no. Mr. Plunkett stood up and said he got a stipend from East Windsor. I've looked thoroughly at East Windsor and at Upper Freehold Township. Would it surprise any of you to know that Mr. Plunkett is paid $35,000 a year between Upper Freehold Township and East Windsor? It's right here. It's already been paid.
We're not talking about that.
We're talking about shared services agreements.
That's not.
I'm
part-
sorry, I thought I was
that's-
at the podium.
Mr. Henderson, that's not part of a shared service agreement. That's Mr. Plunkett on his own time, just as Mr. Barrett, our CFO, works in other towns.
Shared services agreement.
That's not.
Shared services agreement.
Mr. Plunkett's stipend is not in the shared service agreement. That's a separate agreement that he has with East Windsor Township.
It's interesting, I got that information when I asked for information on shared services agreements.
Well, if they went out with an Oprah request, but that money does not pass through Hamilton.
Oh, no, it does not, no, absolutely.
Correct, it doesn't.
Which
So-
makes it even more curious that it's paid directly to Mr. Plunkett at his home address.
That's right, because he's a health officer, and they hired him as a health officer. He does that on the weekends and on his own time. He does not do that on township time.
So I-
Just as Mr. Barrett does, just as tax assessors do, CFO, Mr. Monzo, who's helped us significantly, he is a CFO for more than one town. It's a common practice. You might disagree with the practice, but it is common throughout the state.
Can I approach, give you these? You can look at them yourselves. You can do what you want with it. I don't know how many hours he's working for us, but he's working for more hours for other people, making a lot more money. $35,000 for 2 of the agreements. I'm done.
Yes, yes. That's great.
Fish Gray, 414 Aston Pink. I wanted to discuss 3FF, the medical marijuana. I don't see why the mayor would have a problem with this. The findings are out there that it helps people. She needs to just look at the facts. I know that's hard for her, but she needs to start looking at facts.
No, well, I would say that if it's cultivated for medical purposes, if recreational marijuana is legalized, which Senator Sweeney now thinks he has the vote, they will be able to cultivate it for recreational purposes as well.
Hallelujah. I would like to also mention 3K about the signs, and you said it was bidding. Would it be bidding, or is this, because to me that means the big box shops can outbid the mom and pop shops. And I would think the mom and pops should be the ones getting advertising.
Well, the goal then is
Meetings aren't at night.
to obviously to maximize revenue. We have interest from a lot of small companies. I think mostly small businesses prefer to do that because it's such a localized market.
In this town, I think the mom and pops are getting screwed right now. Then I wanted to bring up 3A. I haven't been coming to the council meetings that long, but this is my 3rd one in a row. And it is very clear to anybody coming that this is a game that you guys are playing about the Advisory Commission for the Arts. She asks the same thing every council meeting. And you say, I'm gonna get back to you on that, and the same thing comes up. This is a waste of everybody's time. The mayor needs to stop playing these games with everybody. It's our money, it's our time. If I come back to the next one and hear this again, I think I'm gonna throw up.
The mayor is authorized to make the appointments. Her first appointment she made of Mr. Ty was initially blocked by Mrs. Shermer. Then when there were 2 others, because Mr. Ty wasn't one of hers. Now, I might note Mr. Ty was the Democratic surrogate of this county and a Democratic freeholder. And then
They bring
2 more names
politics
were
into
put
everything.
forth, which were interviewed, and they were put forth. Some of the people that have been proposed by Mrs. Sherman don't live in Hamilton Township, so there's some concern about that we prefer to have the residents. So it's the mayor's determination.
It's just so piecemeal. Like,
Well,
it takes this long to get a committee together?
Well, I think we can work on maybe for September,
Yeah, we'll work on that.
maybe just getting the full list of that committee that we could just vote on in one group. Yeah, regardless of political affiliation, just that those that have a passion for the arts and
Well,
culture.
I want to address that, because number one, when I invited the people that I reached out to have an exploratory meeting to see if it was even worth doing this commission, I never ever stopped and looked to see who's an R, who's a D. I don't care about that. So to throw that Mr. Ty is a Democrat, what do I care? What do I care? I presented to you individuals that care about the arts, that would be a positive. And to say that some of them don't live in the township, that's nonsense, because we have other members and other advisory commissions and committees that do not live in Hamilton Township. So that's not, so to say that's not true. I mean, yes, it is games. It is. You know why it's games? Because I've been appointed to it. That's why it's games. Okay? Call it what it is, and that's exactly what it is.
Thank you.
Good evening. Cynthia Simon, 4008 South Clinton Avenue. First thing on the consent agenda concerning this council. I understand the mayor is out on a leave. Is she going to be back in time to make a decision to actually present a full council, the Arts Council, by the September 18th meeting? And if she's not, is acting Mayor Flynn going to step in and do this, or are we going to go through this round and round again? That's a fair question, because we understand through the newspapers that the mayor's out. That's fine. It is what it is. But is the mayor going? If she's not back, I don't want to hear that it's expected she's been back. If she's not back, are you prepared to make sure that someone makes the decision before the September 18th meeting?
I don't have that authority.
He should be when he backs
Well,
up
if
like
the
that.
mayor's not back, will the acting mayor make the decision?
That'll be up to the acting mayor.
Will you present that to the acting
I'm
mayor?
going to
That's,
propose it, talk to the council.
thank you. That's what you needed to say. Not that it's not your decision. I know it's not your decision. But you're the one that's the liaison to go back to the mayor or acting mayor to make that decision. That's my question. Thank you. Resolution 3E, the whole shared services thing. Who would be the employee or director that would be handling this? Would this be Mr. Plunkett, or would this be our emergency manager? Who's going to be responsible for that?
It would most likely be Mr. Carruthers as the leader of the Office of Emergency Management.
Thank you.
But obviously, the local health department has a role in this as well.
Right, but it does actually say, health threats and emergencies, so I would think that this wouldn't be Mr. Plunkett being overextended for another shared services agreement, as Mr. Henderson has pointed out, that hopefully it would be someone that's actually versed in emergency management tasks.
Just to point out the language, you may
Thank
not
you.
have.
Yeah,
all
we
the-
don't get that, so.
Whereas the township is desirous of having its local health department work cooperatively with the county of Mercer for the planning and implementation of state-approved services, activities for bioterrorism, infectious disease outbreaks, and other public health threats and emergencies, preparedness and response for Mercer County at no cost to the township.
Yeah,
Therefore, it's resolved.
I'm not splitting hair over costs. I was just asking if it's,
Yeah,
now,
well,
it says
I'm
the
just-
Department of
to your
Health, but
point.
it sounds like emergency management versus Department of Health, the way you just versed that to me. So it's kind of it's a conflict in how they say it should be the Department of Health, but Mr. Plunkett is not the Office of Emergency Manager. So, anyway. Okay. Next one is 3O, P, and Q are three, emergency underground infrastructure repairs. And then, so they're all quite, one's actually, yeah, 600,000, 216,000, 500,000. They say emergency, but are these budgeted? Was there cushion in any of our budgets to be able to cover this? Is this gonna be an increase in expenses?
No, we appropriate money in the budget to cover this. the emergencies that arise. We have, I think, three contractors, any one of which can be called to come address the emergency. 3 is done, it was a mistake in one of the resolutions, it was supposed to be a 2-year contract, but this is showing the 2nd year amount on that. And unfortunately, we have, this is all for the Office of Water Pollution Control.
Right, I understand that.
But unfortunately, you have these emergencies where lines break down.
Right, but what I'm asking is, and I believe you answered that, we did have a
It's
line
within the
item.
water pollution control budget.
And there's
yes.
budgets in there, thank you. Same thing with 3U. Sewer force mains to Department of Water Pollution Control, August 18 to August 19, $149,000, is that again is in the budget?
Yes.
3V, the excess equipment, other than claimed bikes and cars and things like that. Is there actual township property in part of this?
You mean real property? No, it's all personal property. It's cars.
So it's all things that have been seized or
No, it's some cars that are no longer of any use.
that the township owned?
Yes.
Okay,
Police
so,
Old police vehicles that have 150,000 miles on them.
what about that grader? And where do the funds go for that? Where does that revenue?
General revenue.
General revenue. I'm sure you're tired of me already, but two more questions. 3Z, resolution authorizing a refund of real estate tax, 16, 17, 18, and 19.
Yes.
Did someone prepay taxes?
The major ones arose out of tax appeals, particularly by public service
Okay.
and gas.
2019, have they already paid taxes?
That's for the settlement on those. I didn't catch that. That may be.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
catch that.
We haven't paid
I'm only the business
2019, and
administrator.
you are, these 4 years, including some 2019 number that is due to be
There
collected?
is one payment,
I think that was in advance, yeah.
Interstate.
Yeah.
Outdoor.
Advertising, they
Correct.
paid their 2019 tax.
And how much was that?
That's only $543.
Ah.
That,
So how many,
we got a
just,
couple of people that.
just out of curiosity, out of this 200 and, my glasses back on, 263,000, how many entities are we returning money to?
How many entities?
Or how many individual payments are we refunding? Just out of curiosity.
14.
And these are all basically through tax appeals?
Yeah, most are public service electric and gas. All these ones that are listed on here,
Most of
Peter
them.
Zip Esquire,
Yeah,
that's
I'm a
PSE.
PSE.
And we gave PSE&G some refunds a couple of meetings ago. Is this additional stuff
Yeah,
that they've been able to?
They've been very aggressive in appealing their tax assessments throughout the state. And unfortunately, with Duck Island being closed down, that was a significant hit to the township in terms of rate.
One last question, just because I'm curious. 3EE, canceling certain municipal liens, 74 Napa Avenue, was the property sold and the liens was this based on, how is that being cleared?
There's a notice problem that the owner didn't get the proper notice for this,
Didn't get the proper notice for the liens?
for the work that was done that created the lien.
Okay.
$251.
Okay, I'm just curious, because again, you say that, but we never know, we don't get dollar values, and we don't get obviously the detail that you all have in your book, so, thank you.
Hi, I'm Carrie from Gary Drive, and I wanted to talk to you about 3K. Collecting that money is just a line item, it's a journal entry. It's not a big to-do, like you're leading people to believe. This is for the competitive contracting of concessions and the signage. It's a journal entry. We have an accounting department, it's not that difficult for them to do and track this money. You know, the residents want more accountability
It'll be
about our money.
It'll show sign revenue, just as we show revenue from.
Okay, so it would be able to track where it's going, when it comes in, and where it's going, to apply it to back to the fields that it's being collected from. It's a journal entry. If you have to make an adjusted journal entry, you can do that. It's not a big to-do if you work in accounting. And I think the residents, especially now and nowadays, want to know where their money is going. And we have to do our due diligence and make certain that you guys are watching where our tax dollars are going. Okay, and as far as the medical marijuana and the mayor's issue with that, look, New Jersey was just rated by the CDC as one of the states having an increase in overdoses. Okay, and medical marijuana can help people come off of addictive drugs that they are overdosing on. That's proven, okay? So I think we need to get along with the times here. And if it means my brother, sister, aunt, cousin, neighbor, friend is no longer addicted to opioids and can use medical marijuana for the pain that they're in, okay? And Hamilton can contribute to that by being a place that the medical marijuana is being cultivated, then I think not only do we should do that morally, but for the tax dollars too. Thank you.
Gary, I'm sorry.
Gary Ivorone, West Bedard Avenue. Just a few quick points I'd like to make concerning medical marijuana. I'd like to know what the concerns are of Mary Gady. I don't know, they could be very positive, they could be very negative. I would just like to know what those concerns are, because from a business perspective, if New Jersey, in this case, Hamilton Township, doesn't get in on the action, so to speak, New York and Pennsylvania are considering moves that would legalize medical marijuana and possibly recreational marijuana. This is a huge market. It would benefit the township. I think that should be considered. And one other point I'd like to address to Mr. Kenny. It was not Senator Sweeney who pushed for the idea of medical marijuana or recreational marijuana. That belongs to our governor, Mr. Murphy.
Senator Sweeney, I saw that he feels he has the vote now. Yes, I'm sure he had the vote.
Yeah, well, it's only, to me, it's like giving credit where credit is not due. I'm just saying, I support Governor Murphy and his agenda, and I think what Senator Sweeney is doing is better suited for a conservative. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Joe Mastro Marino, forgotten part of the township. Whitehead Manor. I think I'm pretty authoritative on the subject of marijuana. In Vietnam, I served in the infantry, and I sometimes spent 30 days out in the field. When I came in from the field, the only thing I could do to escape reality was to smoke marijuana. Okay, we weren't crazed druggies. We didn't go out into the boonies stoned. Okay, it was controlled. The government knew we were doing it. The Army knew we were doing it. I mean, I'm post-traumatic stress, so I could actually get medical marijuana if I wanted to. I have diabetes. I have neuropathy from Agent Orange. I don't see anything wrong with marijuana. I really don't. It takes it to another level, intellectual level. There are three kinds of pot. There's pot that makes you silly, there's pot that makes you want to munch, and there's pot that's intellectual, okay? I mean, and I've been doing it for a long, long time, okay? When I came back from Vietnam, and I played cards with a couple of my buddies, mentally I was about 35, they were 20. and ended up a joint. And I said, why are you smoking marijuana? And they say, why not? And I said, there's no reality to escape in America. Now there is, but back then. So I wholeheartedly agree with having marijuana.
Thank you, Joe. Joe, thank you for adding some levity tonight to this tense meeting. Thank you. Who's up next? Mr. Van White.
I nominate Joe to be on every committee you ever have. Mark Van Wagner, 235 Hanson Avenue. I wanted to speak to two of the resolutions. The first one was on the cultural issue, and a little broad, a little overview on this. I'm really confused and disappointed at what appears to be an inability to walk across the table and to have conversations and cross-table communication, regardless of political disposition or points of, where we stand on given issues. If the mayor has concerns about any of the nominations, or even wants to discuss them, I would encourage her to do so, to discuss it fully with all of our elected government officials. Hey, you know what, if you want to duke it out and decide why this person deserves it more than the other one, so be it. But to shut a door or turn out a light, that's not beneficial to the township as a whole. Whether the gentleman that was proposed today is an appropriate appointee, well, I heard Ileana's description. I certainly would not encourage people that are catcalling from the audience. If I'm one of them, I wouldn't be on that committee either. You want to have people that can bring folks together and have a passion for the arts and an ability to monetize this tremendous thing we have. We have Grounds for Sculpture, this international destination, which is a nucleus of potential economic engine for our township. There are places that would die to have what we have, and all we need to do is surround it with smart economic investment using the arts and culture as that tool. So I think that not fulfilling a council with people that have the knowledge and capability to do that truly steals away revenue opportunity for our town. We hurt with taxes, and I think we need to fix that. So, and I appreciate that you're gonna look at it in September, and I hope this September it is more of a conversation, not just, here's a name we know you don't like, tell us if you don't like it, and I don't, hopefully we fix that. So I actually support the comments of Councilman Shermer, and I hope that our mayor has a more open mind on the issue of discussion. I may have heard this incorrectly, and I want to clarify. This is on 3K, and the issue of the signage. It sounded to me like we had contracted in the past with one-year contracts on signage at sports fields and never renewed those contracts, but the signage remained up. So we essentially gave away money free to those sponsors who had done it for a single year. Was that because the ball got dropped, or just because, what happened in that?
I don't know how many years it goes back, but obviously somebody can follow up on that. And, so that happens, and that's why we're remedying it. We're doing it the way it should be done, which is what we did. It's never been in the past. I don't know how many years that goes back. If that goes back about 9 years, apparently.
Okay.
So quite a while. And I just didn't want to, while you're up here, I just want to point out one thing. You said Mr. Carruthers' truck cost $71,000. It's $41,000.
I'm sorry, what was that?
You would, at a last meeting, you said Mr. Carruthers' truck cost the taxpayer $71,000. It's $41,000. I checked it out.
I want you to put me in touch with that dealer.
Okay, we will.
Because that's a great
what it
price.
was, and that includes the radio equipment for the Office of
You
Emergency.
bet. All right, I want to deal with that guy. Hey, so back on this issue here, the resolution for authorizing. So, I remember this great story. University of Michigan, and the athletic director, and all he was a marketing expert. And he took their football program and they paid for every sports program they had with the money they drew in from that single. So they didn't pocket it all into just football programs. That probably would have violated the law anyway because of the titles on fair funding for male and female sports programs. But the key ingredient here is that it just did a fantastic job on those sports fields over at Veterans Park. They look great. They look world class. And I'm hoping that the signage that we get from it draws a fair amount of revenue in, and we should try to get as much as we possibly can from it. And again, I don't care where it goes as long as it's helping the taxpayer at the bottom. We should never shortchange our wonderful sports fields, and the transparency on the payments I think is critical. I don't care where it goes, I do a little bit, but I do care to know how much came in, because I think a lack of transparency may have led to the 9-year absence of revenue, so that's all I'm saying on that.
No,
I think.
I agree, that there will be a line item on where that revenue would show, it's usually called miscellaneous revenue, and then we specify it by different categories on where the money comes from.
Okay.
Hey, Dave,
Thank you.
Dave, could we put that like in the recreation trust? I know it's not a large sum of money, like
Yeah,
was
it's
mentioned.
not gonna be very much money. Like I said, the money's fungible. We get a grant for police overtime, you throw in police overtime, but you use other money in the police budget. So you take that money and just move it around, that's what happens.
There you go, move it around. Take it, move it around.
Well,
Guys, if we could just,
if the people, like, wanna criticize, our expenses, our budgets have gone up, spending has gone up 1% per year on average for the past 5 years. Mercer County has gone up 4.2% per year for each of the 5 years. So it's a little difficult for me to accept criticism on our budget. Can you always do better? Absolutely. But I defy you to find any town that's only increased their spending 1% a year in each of the 5 years, on average for each of the past 5 years.
I'm not sure how that factored in with things I was talking about with the resolutions, but I appreciate your defense. I will say that, yes, I appreciate you willing to come to the defense of them, and I know that you want, as we all want, lean, mean, and efficient government that's using no more money than we absolutely need to. I want to talk one more thing on this first issue, which was the cultural thing, and I'll come back to that. I've heard in several meetings now allegations of partisanship coming from the mayor's office mostly. And I've read it in press releases, and I see this as in line with that, and I'm concerned with that. There's an opportunity for our leader, our top elected official, to demonstrate that we're not partisan and we can work across the table, even with people that personally we may not necessarily like, and across party lines to do a thing that's in the benefit of all the township residents and the future of our township. So I would look to see an improvement of this cultural issue as a sign of an indication that we're moving away from what appears to me to be partisanship. So I hope we get there.
Good, thank you.
anyone wishing to comment from the public regarding the consent agenda? Okay. Do we have a motion and a second? Okay, let's do roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Sorry, yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes, with my abstention.
So noted. Mr. Ty?
And this is yes on 3B.
3B through 3GG.
GG.
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes, noting my abstention from earlier.
Duly noted. Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to ordinances. We have 4A, which is ordinance 18-030, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Land Development Code, Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Chapter 550, Land Development, Article 3, District Regulations, subsection 550-94, Special Housing Zone 3. This was tabled from the June 19th and July 21st, 2018 meetings. This is second reading and public hearing.
Mr. President, we discussed that, we're gonna table,
I'll second that.
Since this is a second, well, no.
Yeah. This deals with the Project Freedom site and things like that, and I think given the legal advice we got tonight in the executive session, it'd probably be just easier to table this at this point. Right, and keep it in first reading, given the legal advice, and this way, if we need to bring it up at the September meeting, it's ready to be brought up at the September meeting. That was just my thought on it.
Well, then you would make a motion to continue the public hearing until
Yeah, right.
September 18th.
Yeah, okay.
I'll make a motion, continue the.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. 4B is ordinance 18-031, an ordinance of the Township of Hamilton in the County of Mercer, New Jersey, providing for various sewer utility improvements and related expenses in and for the Township of Hamilton and appropriating $6,800,000 therefore, and providing for the issuance of $6,800,000 in bonds or notes of the Township of Hamilton to finance the same. This has been tabled from the July 21st, 2018 meeting, and this is the second reading and public hearing.
Anyone wishing from the public to speak on this matter? Yes, indeed.
Hello, Cynthia Simon, 4008 South Clinton Avenue. Okay. So, one question. What are the outstanding bonds that we have for the sewer department that we're gonna be adding another $6.8 million to? Because I understand from the capital budget, currently the debt service and deferred charges take 29% of the budget. So we're gonna add another 6.8 million to that, and yes, 29% was from the capital budget presentation I printed this off today.
I don't know the total amount of indebtedness. I can say to you though that this is all funded through the water pollution control.
I know that it's through the water
And-
pollution control, and the water pollution control has a 29%
Yes.
debt
We
out of
have,
their budget.
we have significant infrastructure costs that we have to take care of. Obligations imposed on us by the state of New Jersey through the Department of Environmental Protection. Obviously, we have a very old system.
Okay, so
we-
let's break down,
yeah,
let's break down what we have here. So, I'm looking under item 3, the purpose of acquisition of various equipment, including and not limited to, things for the pump station. So, my concern here is, we're looking at 15 years at $877,000. Now, obviously, the pump station replacement equipment makes a lot of sense, but why are we lumping in 2 golf carts for $7,000, a riding mower for $10,000, and the GPS? Why are those items being lumped in
I can
with
speak
pump
to some, okay,
station?
the GPS.
Well, I know why we
is
need the
that's for the
GPS.
safety of employees.
I'm not asking why. I'm not asking why we're making these purchases, other than why we're spending $10,000 on a riding mower and why we approved that in the capital budget. That, I missed the capital budget review on sewer, I guess, because I would have questioned why we're spending $10,000 on a riding mower. I thought we have public works equipment, why can't we use that? Why isn't art staff cutting the grass? I'm not questioning the need for GPS. I'm not questioning the golf carts, because I'm assuming that's okay, that's how they get around, it makes it a little bit more efficient for employees. Not questioning that. I'm questioning why these smaller purchases are being lumped in with a 15-year pump station things. Obviously, those things are gonna last a lot longer, and it makes sense to say, okay, we need equipment to keep our pump stations up and running properly. Why are we lumping in, again, a $10,000 riding mower, 2 golf carts, and a GPS? And the hoist truck, I can kind of make sense that goes in here, that's a larger price, that should last a long time, but I don't understand why we're lumping it in that. So if we're gonna pay 15 years at 6.8%, that's gonna cost us way more money than it should.
I don't know where you're getting this.
Well, I looked at various rates for bond prices, so, okay, so that
It'll be a
fluctuates.
lot lower than that.
I'm assuming it's lower than that. Does the township have a cap as to what we pay for bond, what we put out for bond?
No, it's what the market, well, there's a statutory cap on how much we can borrow, and we're way below
But
that.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking, do we as, our moral obligation, not what the state says we can, do we put a cap at how much the percentage of we have to pay? Do we say, okay, we're gonna put this out for bond, but we don't wanna pay more than 5%?
Well.
Do we have an internal, no, I'm not asking, that's what I'm
No,
asking.
no,
So
the
we
bond-
don't have an
The
internal
bond markets
threshold?
don't work that way, and obviously
I know, and I'm assuming we go for fixed bonds, not variable rate?
Things, correct, yeah,
Okay.
they're fixed.
Well, because they're
Absolutely.
variable out there too, so.
Yeah, but we do
That's,
fixed.
okay. So can we explain why we're doing this? Is there a way to
Because-
make a change to this? Because I really don't understand why we're putting the GPS and all that into pump station equipment.
Because, I can tell you why. The statutes allow you to, use certain things qualify as capital expenditures. You buy a motor vehicle, it's not
Well,
a
I
capital
understand that.
expenditure.
So if we're putting the golf cart, the riding mower, and the GPS, why can't that go under item 2, which is under replacement of vehicles, which we're only gonna borrow at 5 years? Why are we putting it at 15? That's the question. Why are we gonna stretch it out that far?
It's based on the expected life. It's the period of average, the average period of usefulness is determined.
Right, but we're gonna borrow, we're gonna get a bond that we can pay
as
back in
determined
15
by the
years.
state of New
But we're
Jersey.
gonna get a bond that we can pay back in 15 years.
We don't have to borrow for 15 years for that.
But we will, because God, you know, we're already paying back, how much is our debt service, in the budget this year for capital? Let's see. Payment of bond principal, 2.4 million, interest on bonds, 1.5 million. Payment of band principal, 460,000, bond anticipated note interest, 775,000. So we just keep adding to that,
Well, so the alternative to that is to raise rates, because we haven't raised the rates in 10 years.
I'm not asking to raise the rate, I'm asking why isn't it lumped in with a vehicle thing? That we're,
Because it's based on the period of usefulness is determined by the state of New
Okay,
Jersey,
fine.
and that's the way bond council
fine,
does
you're
it.
not gonna be able to answer that question.
No,
Okay,
I
so.
just answered it for you.
And I'm okay, I'm moving on. I'm moving on to my next
Go ahead.
question. So, section 6, item D, aggregate amount not exceeding $872,000.
Yep.
I had a question on the bond
Yes.
issue last year, or last meeting, can we get a breakdown of this $872,000 and where we're gonna put this money?
That is the.
I know we're allowed to do it by statute, please
That's what
don't
we're
tell me
doing.
that again.
And that's what, so Mr. Barrett built that in. Now, you have to bear in mind, when we do a bond ordinance, that doesn't mean we're gonna borrow all this money.
I know, but
We
I'm
may not make
but-
some of these purchases.
I'm
But
not
but-
asking that,
But
but-
there are extraneous costs that you have when you borrow money.
I understand that, and that's not what I'm asking. This is the same question I asked at last meeting when we put on the $4.6 million that we're borrowing for general funds, was this $872,000 aggregate amount that we are allowed to borrow per statute 40A, colon 2-20. Is there a breakdown of this cost?
No, Mr. Barrett advises me that's the percentage that you always apply. That's what the breakdown is. And that would include the cover the cost of bond counsel, that.
So we
bond counsel
can't
will-
justify this by any type of breakdown of cost. Just
No.
because we can, we do it.
Yes, it's considered because
Thank
what if
you.
you have cost overruns, those types of things. But then the money, if it doesn't need to be spent, it doesn't get spent. It doesn't even get borrowed.
Well,
Just
you
because-
just said two different things.
All the-
If
all
we
the
don't
bond
spend the
or-
money, we don't spend it, so where does that money go if we do borrow
If
it
we
and don't
do
spend
borrow,
it?
then it would revert, it would be assigned to other capital purchases.
Other capital purchases where?
Within the Department of Water Pollution Control is self-contained. None of that money can come over to the general revenue for the.
We're not gonna make some line item transfer journal entry.
You permitted to do it, but we don't do that. We haven't done that. And, the worst thing we can do is shortchange our capital.
The worst thing we can do is borrow $872,000 without a breakdown.
That's Trenton Waterworks, it's shortchanging capital.
I'm not talking about, this has nothing to do with Trenton Waterworks. Why did you even bring that up?
Because-
Why did you even bring the Trenton Waterworks
I
up?
bring-
This
I
is
bring it
our
up-
sewer department and our
If
$872,000
we
that we wanna borrow.
If we shortchange our capital, that's where you're gonna wind up.
But that had nothing, but
We had a 15
you're doing
million-
apples and oranges
we had
because
a
I wasn't
15
asking about Trenton
We had a
Waterworks.
$15 million emergency.
I
in our
understand,
sewer
but
department
this is not about,
because of
this,
lack of
this
expenses.
is not about Trenton Waterworks. You should not have brought that up. That's apples and oranges.
I
No,
don't-
I disagree
I
with
think
you.
it's-
Okay.
Hey, can I just add on that? It's just very simple. What we're looking to do here is not that in the sense that we need to borrow these monies to do the repairs. This is an old infrastructure, it needs repairs. What I think everyone is having trouble with, and it's what I had highlighted here, is the golf carts, when you see riding mowers, it's like taking a loan and that $10,000 then becomes $30,000 after so many years with interest. And this is what people are seeing. It's just very, tell me if I'm wrong. Basically, if you need 2 golf carts, purchase that from somewhere else. Do you have money somewhere else? Do we have it somewhere else in Public Works? The riding mowers, does Public Work have an extra one that we can borrow? That was even brought up during our budget hearing. I remember asking that. So it's not like she's questioning everything we're doing, why we're doing it, but it's just, why are these little items being brought in? Why is the A72 not itemized? And sometimes, and I've had a ton of discussions with the CFO about this. We were even talking about this today, as a matter of fact. When he explains it, it makes sense. I'm not a CPA, I can't even repeat what he said. But I think it's just the way the ordinance is written out, where people, I think, are looking for more of a line item breakdown of the items. And sometimes you can't give it, I understand. And sometimes what we're doing here also is we're giving permission to borrow up so much money. They may not need that money, right? Correct, Mr.
Correct.
Penny? It may end up being, okay, we have these repairs, but it's only gonna cost us this, therefore we'll go out for only this amount. What we're just doing is giving approval in case they need to go for additionals. Is it always used? No, it's not. It's not always used. But I think these little two items here, where you see golf carts and you see riding mower, do we really need to pay that much money for those items because of the interest that it compounds? Perhaps that could be taken out and taken out of somewhere else. You know. Does that make sense? Does that explanation
Well,
make sense?
I know when we did our budget workshop, and especially when it was the general fund, there were a number of items that we took out of capital and moved into general fund. So I know we've looked at this issue. I know we discussed this issue. I know when we met to go over the budget, and John was there, and Roberta was there, and we talked about all this. Why we didn't.
And you cut $1 million from the capital request.
Yeah, and so I don't remember if we addressed the golf carts or not. My memory's not that good from 6 months ago or 4 months ago. But I know we've addressed this issue in general when it came to this budget.
My recollection is the golf carts are used to carry parts around.
Yeah,
sort of
yeah, heavy
because
equipment,
They're
things
narrow
like that.
areas to get through, you can't
Yeah.
get truck.
So I don't remember why the golf carts was kept on the capital. You'll have to excuse me, but I know we definitely, as a council and a governing body, reviewed moving things that could be moved onto the operating expenses, onto that line item versus taking out and putting out a bond for it, so.
Anyone else wishing to comment from the public?
Motion to move ordinance.
Close public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing and move ordinance number 18-031.
I'll second it.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Ordinance passes 5-0. 4C is ordinance 18-037. An ordinance to vacate, release, and extinguish any and all dedication of public rights or any public rights which may appear to come into being in Capitol Road and Paper Street in the Township of Hamilton, County of Mercer, and State of New Jersey, subject to reservations. This is second reading and public hearing.
Anyone wishing from the public to make comment on this ordinance?
Mr. President, seeing no one wishes to comment, I'd like to close the public hearing and adopt ordinance 18-037 on second reading.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Ordinance 4D is ordinance 18-038. An ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of Ordinances, Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Chapter 45, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, subsection 45-19, handicap parking. This is to repeal a space established at 214 Woodlawn Avenue by ordinance number 98-041. This is second reading and public hearing.
Anyone wishing to comment regarding this ordinance?
Mr. President, see nobody from the public wishing to comment, I move to close the public comment portion and move to adopt on second reading ordinance 18-038.
And I second that.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. 4E is ordinance 18-039. An ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of Ordinances, Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Chapter 485, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, subsection 485-9, parking prohibited at all times on certain streets. This is for Nottingham Way, County Route 614. This is second reading and public hearing.
Anyone wishing to comment from the public regarding this ordinance?
And Dave, we gave notice to the people who are right out front there on Nottingham Way address, right? I think, right? We talked about that last time.
Yeah.
I think you're all
And the notices went out.
Yeah,
That's
notice.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mr. President, seeing no member from the public wishing to comment, I move to close the public comment section and adopt ordinance 18-039.
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. 4F is ordinance 18-040. An ordinance of the Township of Hamilton and Mercer County, New Jersey, authorizing continuation of the government energy aggregation program. This is second reading and public hearing.
Anyone wishing to comment from the public regarding this ordinance?
Mr. President, seeing no public comment, I move that we close the public comment portion and move ordinance -18-040.
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
No.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Todd?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Ordinance passes 4-1. 4G is ordinance 18-041, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of Ordinances, Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Chapter 349, peddling and soliciting, subsection 349-9, hours of operation. This is first reading and introduction.
Mr. President, I'd like to move 18-041 on the first reading.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo? Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. 4H is ordinance 18-042, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Land Development Code, Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Chapter 550, Land Development, Article 3, District Regulations, subsection 550-81, for REO2, REO4, and REO5, for research, engineering, and office districts, and RD, research and development districts. This is first reading and introduction.
Mr. President, I move on for first reading 18-042.
And I second that.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. 4H1 is a resolution referring proposed amendments to the Land Development Code, Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Chapter 550, Land Development, Article 3, District Regulations, subsection 550-81, REO2, REO4, and REO5, research, engineering, and office districts, and RD, research and development districts, to the Hamilton Township Planning Board for review pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-26.
Anyone wishing to comment from the public regarding this resolution?
It's a resolution.
Resolution. Okay, is referring. Okay.
So, Mr. President, I move to pass resolution 4H1.
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. 4I is ordinance 18-043, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of Ordinances, Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Chapter 485, vehicles and traffic, Article 2, parking, subsection 45-19, handicap parking. This is to establish spaces for 809 Atlantic Avenue, 102 Marshall Avenue, 105 Parker Place, and 238 Parkinson Avenue. This is first reading and introduction.
So, Council, I passed out the handouts we got from Ms. Lane, who's in the front. I told her that there's no public hearing on it at this point, but I just want to make sure she knows that all of us got the information she passed out.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, I move on first hearing, ordinance 18-043.
I'll second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
September 30th. And in September, at the meeting, I think we said the 18th, there'll be a public hearing on this ordinance. And so at that point, we have your written comments and your photos, but you can come before us and voice your concerns at that point as well. Thank you.
Okay, 4J is ordinance 18-044, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of Ordinances, Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Chapter 45, vehicles and traffic, Article 2, parking, subsection 45-19, handicap parking, repealing space established at 18 Elizabeth Avenue by ordinance number 11-002, and 44 Park Lane by ordinance number 06-039. This is first reading and introduction.
Mr. President, I'd like to move that ordinance is 18-044 on first reading.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Mastrangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. 4K is ordinance 18-045, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of Ordinances, Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Chapter 108, Animals, Article 4, Dogs. This is first reading and introduction.
So just for the members of the public, I know we're not doing the public hearing, but what this ordinance will do, there was an ordinance passed back in 2016 that allowed the animal control officer and health officer to declare a dog potentially dangerous.
Yes.
And another one, or vicious. This ordinance, and again, it'll be up in September for a public hearing, would repeal that ordinance from 2016. So essentially, it would go back to how it was prior to 2016.
And which one is it?
This is 4K,
18045.
18045.
Can I have a motion?
Also, Mr. President, I move to introduce on first reading ordinance 18-045.
And I second that.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Strangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. 4L is ordinance 18-046, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of Ordinances, Hamilton Township, New Jersey, Chapter 5, Administration of Government, Part 5, Boards and Commissions, Committees and Agendas. This is Article 33B, Nonprofit Advisory Commission. This is first reading and introduction.
All those Super Bowls help. So again, this is just first reading. It's not right for public comment. But what this would be a commission similar. We have the Economic Development Commission. We have the Arts and Cultural Commission. So this commission would try to get different representatives from different nonprofits in town to get in a room to talk to each other, right, and collaborate with each other. So one of the things I've heard from people who have the opioid problem is after they get back from rehab, there's no real plan, right? They go from 24/7 plan to now they're potentially living on their own or living back home. So there's different nonprofits in town who have potentially offered to step up and let them maybe work out, right, at their gym or facility to give them a place to go. The YMCA is collaborating with the Wilson Center to give free swimming lessons to kids at the Wilson Center this summer. To hopefully, allow those kids to learn how to swim, so you get safety issues. So the idea behind this is you get a bunch of the representatives from the different nonprofits all in a room together, and they can figure out ways to better collaborate and come up with projects like I just described.
Which I want to commend you on this because I love this. This is a great idea, and this is desperately needed, and I commend you on this one.
Well, it's not my idea, I got it from somebody from the public,
Yeah, but
so.
you moved it forward, so it's good, it's all good.
But with that, Mr. President, I'd like to move ordinance 18-046 on the first reading.
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Shermer?
Yes.
Mr. Strangelo?
Yes.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, that brings us to the public comment portion of the agenda. I just want to, just some parameters, let's try to be as civil as possible, and let's hear each other through. And I know that people have signed up on the sign-up sheet. I'm going to hold everyone for their first comment 4 minutes, and their second time that they step up to the podium to 2 minutes. So, Madam Clerk, keep it to
Mr.
that.
President, if I can I just want to make one announcement
Yes.
before I forget. Mayor Adie and Mayor Gusiora from Trenton have agreed to have an update on the Trenton Waterworks matters, on its pipe replacement program, utilities, ongoing efforts at a public meeting on September 13 at the Hamilton Township Senior Center, beginning at 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Same night as the
Up first, we have Lisa Williams. You were here early. She actually beat me here, and I think I got here at 5:30.
5:10. I expected it to be more crowded that early. Lisa Williams, 130 Briner Lane. And my comment is kind of a question. Can somebody explain to me how Hampstead is supposed to work when you call in a complaint about, say, a property that looks like a jungle? What is supposed to happen?
Well, the complaints are logged in to the department that has to investigate it, and then they go through successive stages if nothing's happened. I've seen people complain about that.
Yeah, I'd like to know how it
So
failed.
that
It
would
took
go
4
to-
weeks to get
That would
anybody to
go
show
to
up.
the Department of Health. Well,
To
unfortunately, to the inspectors in the Department of Health.
Goes to inspector, not
Because-
the director?
Yeah, because it'll ultimately get to the director, but not initially. So they, because then, they have to go out and check it out. We usually try to talk to people, see if they'll remedy the situation. Otherwise, you have to give a notice of violation, and they're, you know, they have due process rights, and the time passes, and then we go out, and then we'll take action if we have to. But generally, you have to do notice of violation, and you might have to take them against the board.
Okay, because that particular property, I called, it took 4 weeks and 4 follow-ups for anybody to actually even go out and look at it. And I will just call it Jungle Acres, and it looks like a jungle.
Is that the house right next to you, the back?
It's right behind me,
Okay.
and it's 87 Acres Drive. And to make it even worse, the property has an unsafe structure sign on it, has been vacant for years. When I purchased my home 7 years ago, that house was occupied by an elderly person. And I never met her, but I tried to keep her yard away from my fence, trying to help, being a good neighbor. You don't want to be, quote, that neighbor who complains about everything. So for 7 years, I've tried to keep their crap away. She passed away several years ago. I don't remember exactly when. The property has remained vacant since. In January of this year, I'm coming home from work and I see people standing outside, bright orange sticker. I'm like, what is with that property? I live right behind it. So the property was deemed unsafe, and the utilities were shut off due to a burst pipe. And no one ever followed up. I don't know how you can miss the jungle when you go out there for that. The property has never been registered as vacant. And so I called, the last follow-up was on the 4-week anniversary of my first call. And the Hampstead people who take the calls were very nice. The girls are very nice. But I think it's a huge failure that it took 4 weeks, me following up twice, Ms. Shermer following up with you twice, to finally get anybody to actually show up and go out there. And I told Hampstead that I think the health department, housing department, and the directors all need to get in a car and take a little field trip and look at this property. It's very bad. So apparently somebody did go out and notice a violation was being drafted, and I'm supposed to be told when the reinspection date is. I have not received that email yet. In comparison, when that property came back with the email thing and said that it was not registered as vacant, because the Hampstead person looked that up, I called about another property across the street to say, is that one vacant? Because it too has an unsafe structure orange sign on it. And I don't know what happened with it. It looks like it's been for sale for a while and apparently sold. And there are people working on it, looking like they're ripping it apart. I guess it's constructions and permits people went out that day and looked at it. And I come home on a Friday, and there was a second orange sticker on that house, and it was a stop construction order. So we've got constructions and permits on top of things. And I assume they're following up, because people aren't really doing much work there, and it looks worse now than when the people who purchased it. And we've got this disaster across the street that takes 4 weeks, and 2 of my calls to Hampstead, 2 of Ms. Shermer reaching out to you. What the heck? I pay my taxes. Why did it take this long? Why is there a breakdown that there's vacant properties with unsafe structure signs? No one's even following up to make sure they're registered.
Well, I think action should have been taken more quickly on this, and so I will follow up with this tomorrow to find out what's going on. I can tell the council, we're probably gonna come to you in September. We talked to a firm that specializes in going after banks who hold vacant properties and aren't doing maintenance on them. And so we're gonna come with a contract for that. I've never done this before.
This property is not bank owned.
It's not bank owned, so that makes it even more, makes it even more problematic. But at least if we find out who the estate is, we can go out and take care of what we have to, and then put a lien on the property.
Why is the Trenton Waterworks meeting conflicting with the planning board meeting?
Ms. Williams, can you address that question, your second time up, if you wouldn't mind?
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll come back,
Sorry,
thank you.
sorry. Yes, Ms. Gray.
First, I want to start off with thanking Councilman Ty. At the last meeting, I voiced concerns about the condition of my neighborhood, and he offered to come out and walk the neighborhood with me and see what was happening. and he did do that on a very hot night, and I appreciate that, thank you. A concern I have is the fact that we come up here and give our name and address, and apparently it seems the mayor and this administration is using that against people. If you speak out against her, if you are not on her agenda of what you want to do, there's retaliation against people. I've spoken to many people about this. One of the things you have is the township car sitting in front of my house, studying my house. And that did not happen until I got up here and spoke. And I've heard from several people this is happening.
I find that hard to believe because.
I don't.
I find that hard to
I don't
believe.
recall your name or your address. I think. you
It's
don't
in the
wanna-
records, and I was
Yeah.
also quoted in the paper speaking out about the shelter and my neighborhood, and this is the
What
result.
car is sitting by your house?
There's a picture right there.
Here's a picture right there.
Oh, there you go.
They sat there, watched my house, and took notes. It's a Hamilton Township truck.
Yeah, it looks like a public works truck.
Okay.
Why would they sit in front of my house taking notes after I spoke up? All these years, I can't get anybody out there to cut the lawn across the street, but they can come out now. Also, if you look at the other papers I gave you, the mayor is banning people from her public Facebook page, so is the township. You cannot comment, or your comments are deleted, you can only share, and that is illegal.
The Facebook page does not allow any comments
Oh,
from anyone. The township Facebook page does not allow any comments, is what I.
They are, they're just.
No.
Please, I can't have people shouting from the back.
Excuse me, if you could look at the example I gave you, there's a printout of the Hamilton Township page where you can see that there are comments on the last comment. There's 8 comments, but you can only view the last 2 because they're hidden. Basically, if you do not say what this mayor wants you to say, you're in trouble. And if she is this thin-skinned, then she needs to step down. And I do want to bring up, why is the Waterworks meeting the same night as the planning board meeting on the proposed solar panels in a flood zone? All of a sudden, this meeting is planned when word got out about that?
Is it possible to?
We'd have to reach out to Mayor Gustiore to see.
Is it possible to reschedule the meeting with Trenton Waterworks? I mean, why would we have it? You knew you couldn't use this room, so you had to have it in another building. So why schedule those 2 meetings on the same day?
My understanding is
Thank you.
Can I add to that? Can I add, I'm sorry, regarding what the lady brought up, the September 13, in case some members in the audience don't know or not aware, the planning board is having a meeting on September 13 where they will be addressing a application that for a company that wants to put in over 11,000 solar panels on Sweetbriar. On one side of Sweetbriar, leave the wetlands alone, and then put additional solar panels. I have looked at these plans. I spoke with Rich Williams, the Director of Engineering, and the solar panels are designed to help the Lawrence, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Kenny, to help the Lawrenceville sewer plant. Hamilton will receive nothing in return for these solar panels. So please, if you can get the word out, September 13th, the planning board meeting at 7 o'clock right here in this room is very important. It will change the landscape. That is a flood zone. I looked at the map. The map has it as a flood zone. So please come out. We really need to speak up against this solar panel. Over 11,000 solar panels. So thank you for bringing that up.
Dave, Mr. Anderson, you're up next.
David Henderson. I'd like to ask how many police officers we have on the force right now?
Yeah, it's authorized at 171. We've got some retirements. There are 6 that will be sworn in the first week of September, I think it is. Chief Stevens told me.
Okay, I got a little conflict there. Councilman Mastrangelo said 171. Business Administrator Kenny said 171 authorized. How many are on the job now?
Well, I told you, we've had some retirements. We have 6 that are being sworn in. I think that'll bring us back to 171.
Okay, so the 3 police officers that were approved in the budget have already been added? They've already been sworn in?
2, and they were added.
There were 2. There were not 3, there were 2, and they're already on the job?
Correct.
Thank you.
Cindy, sorry. Cindy?
I didn't sign.
Okay. Okay. Colleen Ronco?
My name is on there.
I got nothing to say. I said my piece.
Yes, Ms. Ronco.
Hi, good evening. Colleen Ronco, 118 Manalapan Road, Spotswood. In reference to the animal shelter, this evening, I believe, I'm sorry, I can't, Master Angelo and Mr. Kenny, I'm sorry, both foreign hearsay, so it's one or the other. They had brought up that there were no animal abuse violations at the shelter. And they both have been quoted as stating that HSUS and Brian Hackett is one of the individuals that you'll be speaking with. And Brian Hackett's a wonderful man, I talk to him all the time. However, this afternoon, I had pulled up the HSUS euthanasia policies, which, as we all know from the last couple of days, 2 of the ACOs at the shelter that were certified through HSUS. This was a big contention last night on 101.5 and also on Chasing New Jersey with Bill Spadia. So I went and I pulled it up because the preferred method here in Hamilton is an intercardiac stick, which is a heart stick. They're basically sticking the needle into the heart of the animal and penetrating the heart and putting the sodium pentobarbital into the heart. This is from HSUS, and I want you to keep this in mind that there's no abuse, according to these gentlemen, at the shelter. An intercardiac injection involves the injection of sodium pentobarbital directly into the heart, where it is quickly transported to the brain. Injection into a conscious animal's heart is excruciatingly painful, even if the technician is able to locate the heart chamber on the first attempt. I don't know about either one of you gentlemen, but I sure as hell wouldn't want to be awake if somebody was sticking a needle into my heart.
My understanding is that before you do the intracardiac, they're heavily sedated.
They're not heavily sedated.
That's
according to your shelter records, which I have, they're over there on the floor, your euthanasia logs, they are using the minimal and in most cases underdosing for the illegal use of the drug Tilazol that you people aren't even supposed to have in your shelter.
Well, I can tell you that initially Dr. Campbell at the state told us that we were allowed to have Tilazol. He sent an email the following day, said that he was wrong, and all the Tilazol has been removed from the shelter and all returned to Dr. Carter. There is no Tilazol in the shelter anymore.
So I'm actually glad to hear that. But I'm going to also take, this came, and I'm going to give this to you afterwards. This is a comment from a Facebook post on Dr. Carter's page. Alan Rosenberg asked, Hamilton Health Officer Jeff Plunkett stated on 101.5 FM radio station today, which was yesterday, that Dr. Carter for years recommended the shelter use the shelter's euthanasia technique. Per the state health department inspection record, an employee stated this was typical cardiac or heart stick. Did you recommend the shelter euthanize most animals using a heart stick? William Vincent, the son, replied back, more false allegations from this administration. The only time that an intercardiac euthanasia would be warranted is with extremely small or dehydrated animals. This would never be performed awake, only after an intramuscular administration of an anesthetic. I can attest that my father nor myself would never recommend intercardiac administration as a preferred method. Now, I'm going to go back to your overall death rate. From January 1st of this year to June 30th, I sat for 4 hours today with the statistical accountant doing these. Your dog death rate, 20% for this year. Your cat death rate, 39%. Your overall kill rate is 32%. Now, here's where it becomes interesting. You claim that the significant amount of these animals that were put to sleep were owner-surrendered euthanasias. Well, I'm going to tell you right now. You had 420 animals total taken into your shelter from January 1st until January 3rd, to June 30th. Out of those, 124 animals were put to sleep. Out of those 124 animals, 14 of them were owner surrenders for elective euthanasia. That means that 4% of your dogs and 2% of your cats, for a total of an overall 3% out of all of your euthanasias, only goes for owner surrendered elective euthanasias.
Okay.
So all of your records, all of your statistics, all of the crap that you're trying to feed the public about how you've got an 80% euthanasia
Ms.
rate.
Ronco, if you can wrap it up, I'm sorry.
Okay, and once it's done and over with, that's gonna come down, you're full of crap. Because here's the numbers right here. Redo your statistics.
Yeah, Stephen Ronco.
Stephen Ronco. Currently, I'm banned on both the mayor's Yates pages, both of which she communicates official public notices, including her statement on the shelter debacle. This is a violation of the First Amendment and the U.S. Constitution and New Jersey's Constitution. I've also requested her banned profile list and deleted comments, to which I was told the profiles were private. They're public. I disagree, and so does Larkin versus Glen Rock. So the next lawsuit's going to be for that. I've already retained an attorney for that. Hamilton Police Division is also censoring their government page, as well as the official township page. And you're suggesting that if you take the comments, so there's 23 comments here under the Trenton Waterworks, and there you go. That's live right now. But now if you go to another one, you'll see 18 comments, and these you can't see because I can only see them because I'm friends with those people. So you are censoring, which is illegal. The government cannot censor us from commenting on Facebook as a government page. So this will be a class action lawsuit on that, and you're sending over a tort claim after this. So the only people that can see them are people that either you're friends with or personally you can see them. Otherwise, you'll see it says 7 comments. You'll look into it. The only comment you can see is yourself. So why don't you guys look into that? More populate once you click on the post. It doesn't show all your comments. You're breaking the law, but it seems like it's the only thing that you're really good at. You guys keep breaking the law every which way you turn. The comment with the tell-us-all, so I said that to you guys a couple times that it's illegal to have in a building. Todd told me, and I believe Jeff Plunkett told me, you have a license for it. You can't get a license for it, and thank you for taking it out of there, but I'd like an apology that you guys have been lying the whole time that you have tell-us-all in a building that you have a license for, which you can't get. And that's according to NJAC 8:65 1.2G. You can't have it in the building. According to that law, it says shelters cannot have any controlled dangerous substance other than sodium pentobarbital on the premises. Any other CDS on the premises must be properly registered with the vet and the CDS and DEA registration for that address. So he can use it, take it back to his place, and that's it. You can't have it in the building at all. So if you get another vet, you can't have it in the building at all. So you guys have a better record right now for the building? Do you have a contract?
No, we don't have a veterinarian in the contract yet.
So you guys should be open then.
Well, we have vets that are still assisting us.
No, you have to have the better record.
You have to have a better record, you should be closed. That's the law.
Well, the state has told us as long as we're looking, it's all right. That's what Dr.
That's not what the law says.
Well, that's what Dr. Campbell told us, so, I mean, I don't
Dr. Campbell already
know what the
told me you were
solution
wrong
is if we
about
close down the shelter.
Well, you're an attorney, why don't you look at the law? Why don't you read it?
We rely on the state for guidance, just as.
It's the law.
Well, I'll have to take that up with Dr. Campbell at the state then, because.
Is he a lawyer?
It's okay. Well, he's the chief veterinarian.
You're a lawyer, so why don't you read the law? Because you can't be open without a vet of record. The hallway in over there isn't open to the public. You guys really coordinated where you can have people come in with this whole event that you had the other day, the press conference, and I like how you had the dogs outside to be barking the whole time. So you really couldn't record and have really good audio of it. That was great. And how do you get people to adopt animals?
Steve, let's just go through the list and I'll have you come back up.
Well, that's only been 4 minutes, right?
Yeah.
According to the list outside, you say 5 minutes. So which is it? It's posted on the
Just
board.
Do this.
It's posted on the
Steve,
door.
We decided to make it 4 minutes. I made
Well,
it-
you can't just go deciding whatever you want when you.
We'll have you come back up.
I mean,
We got a lot of
We
folks
got a
who
lot of
wanna
folks.
share.
That's fine, but according to your thing on, posted up there, it says 5 minutes.
At the beginning of the meeting.
So again, just make it up rules as you go. You know, I guess this guy said so thing.
Thank you for your comments, Steve. Can I have Terry Pfeiffer? I think it's Terry Pfeiffer.
Hi, good evening. I wanted to talk to you about 2 items, and one is, I'm one of those people that have been blocked, but I've been blocked since 2016. So I'm one of the OGs here. But seriously, I was blocked when I brought the ordinance to ban puppy mills to the mayor, and she responded, puppy mill dog and cats retailing sales in our township, and she responded and was not for that. And I posted her response online, and I was banned. We went through a song and dance, and Mr. Kenny knows that. It got sent down here to council, and they rejected it, and we went in and we talked with him, and he had it reversed, okay? But I've been banned ever since then, Mr. Kenny. And I was okay with that. I mean, I know it was a violation of my First Amendment rights, but I really didn't have much to say there anyway. But it's gone a little bit too far. She's also deleted comments of my family members now and has banned them. And I've written to council about that, and I've given you cases with the ACLU and everything else where it is illegal from federal courts. So I'd really like, you know, the mayor can do whatever she wants on her personal page, just like I can. But they can't, public officials can't on their official page, okay? So I'd like that to be fixed, please. Now, the other thing I would like to speak to you about is I wrote to the mayor, and I copied the council, and I wrote Mr. Kenny and temporary Mayor Flynn about the shelter and the $1.1 million. And I asked some questions. And I got a response back today, which was very timely from Mr. Kenny, telling me the work being done at the shelter is essentially maintenance, painting, replacement of old heaters, units, etc. Many of the issues raised in the state report were routine maintenance, placing open dog foods in bags, and ensuring that the paper towels were available. Now here's what I asked, how come the residents of the township are paying for another cat isolation room where the old entrance is? That cat isolation room was supposed to be in the new section, but it did not meet code. So my question was, how come, and who's responsible for that? And that isn't routine maintenance when we're creating a whole new isolation room for cats. Okay, and how come the ventilation system was not built to code? Who was responsible for this? This is our money. How much more money do we have to pay for this incompetence? Who mismanaged this project and these tax dollars? How could you spend $1.1 million on a new shelter and not be up to code with lighting, ventilation, and flooring? How can you do that? To which the response was, the flooring issue to which you refer to is unclear. I don't think it was really unclear. Apparently, an employee indicated the floors were not impervious. We believe this information is incorrect and are reviewing the specifications for the construction of the shelter addition as drafted by the architect. What about the old section? Most of the issues raised by the state report have already been remedied and are continuing to address issues surrounding record keeping. If you have any other questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. I'm contacting you.
Mr. Kenny, work being done in the shelter is not essentially maintenance. We are really not as dumb as you think we are. It's not just painting, replacement of old heater units, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, I'll make it really quick. And most of the issues raised at the state report were not routine maintenance, okay? Mr. Kenny, they were serious issues at the shelter. Euthanasia certificates, Schedule III drugs unaccounted for, and needless euthanizing of animals, not to mention just a few.
Terry, if you can hold that
Yep.
comment to this next time, thank you. Tammy Duffy is up next. Tammy.
Hello, I'm Tammy Duffy. I live at 109 Sweetbriar, and I'm hoping you can help me. I tried to adopt an animal this Saturday at the shelter during the Clean Out the Shelter Day, and it was a turtle. So they took me into the back and showed me the turtle. It's pretty big, slider turtle. They showed me the habitat it was living in, shared with me that they change the water every 3 months or so for it. And I said, great, I'll go and set up a habitat at my house and get it all set up and then come and get the turtle. I still don't have the turtle. Why? So Todd had given me his business card when I was there on Saturday. He said, take my card, call me later today or even Sunday, which I thought was pretty nice because it's the weekend. So he set an expectation, right? To call him when I'm ready with the habitat for the turtle to come get it. I called him, no response. I sent him a text with a photo of the whole habitat that I put together, no response. I called the shelter on Monday, left a voicemail, no response. I called the shelter again today, and this is what I was told. We think you may need to get a permit for the turtle because it's considered an exotic pet. I would think that employees who have been at the Township shelter for 40 years, because there's one that has been there for 40 years, would know if someone coming in to adopt an animal would know the process of which I would have to go through to adopt the animal. So I called, they gave me the phone number for DEP for Fish and Wildlife. I called them, they sent me an email with the application and with the regulations. I read the regulations, they're 9 pages long. It's clear what you need to do. So it's not a lengthy regulatory document that I would think the township employees would be part of their job, that they would know. So I then read the documents, and on it said, make sure you contact your local municipality to ensure that they allow you to take exotic pets. The state allows you to, but townships or the county may have a more stricter law. Well, I called Hampstead, no one knew. I put a call into land use, I'm waiting for a call back. I called the health department, I don't have a response. Can you help me adopt a turtle? This is insane. So I look forward to your help and somebody getting back to me about what's the ordinance in the township, because I have the paperwork for the state. It's $10 for the license. The habitat is beautiful. It's sitting there for days. My dogs are looking at it like this is empty. I don't want to have to go buy goldfish for it. So can you help me out? Thank you.
Tammy, come over and give me your number.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, up next we have Elaine Muschel. Thanks, Tammy. Oh, I'm sorry. And now I have Joe is up, Joe Mastro Marino.
Men like Carabelli, you can't pronounce my name. Joe Mastro Marino, 133 6th Avenue. And again, the forgotten part of the township. I wanted to say thank you to Rick, because all the years I've lived in Hamilton, he is the only politician who's ever come out to my house and took a tour of my neighborhood, so he could see some of the conditions that we're living in, okay? The Appleton Creek is a disgrace. If you drive down Sweetbriar Road, okay, the overgrowth is terrible, okay? Go down Aspen Bay, the overgrowth is terrible. It's a mess. I mean, I know Hamilton prides itself on a clean community, but I'm telling you, they have forgotten about our area. We have nothing but garbage over there. Getting back to that young lady about her turtle, I actually adopted 2 cats, okay? But I did try to adopt cats from Hamilton, and they wanted to do a background check on me, okay? Now, a background check on me, I mean, I've raised seeing eye dogs, I've rescued greyhounds, guinea pigs. When I die and go to heaven, there's going to be a lot of dogs waiting for me, including some of the ones I dated. I miss my calling, I know. My heart breaks when I hear about Patty with her cats and the stuff they're going through with the Hamilton Township. It's a sin. Animals have feelings. Animals are, as far as I'm concerned, animals are people. You know, unconditional love with an animal. And that young lady over there mentioned about that, about the meeting over in Cedar Lane, about the waterworks. And it's funny because it's really ironic that that same day we're going to have a meeting here about the, you know, we can't have that happen. I mean, where's the water going to go? I've been flooded out 3 times in my lifetime in Hamilton Township. The township hasn't done anything for me. 3 times boated out. 1 time with a 2-year-old, 1 time with a 19-year-old, and the last time, my wife and myself and my animals. But we can't have that thing built. There's no way that thing is going to be built. I will be here on the 13th, and they damn sure are not going to put that up. And I just want to say that I'm too old now to care about political correctness, okay? If I got something to say, I say it. I think I've earned that right as a combat disabled veteran. So,
Thank you for your service. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Next up, we have Christine Kraus-Mercer.
Hi, Christine Kraus-Mercer, 12 Pazula Road here in Hamilton. I've lived in Hamilton pardon me, for over 40 years. And this debacle over the shelter just agonizes me and it irritates me so much. And what really, really bothers me is the administration's attitude towards what has been going on. First of all, when the council was, someone approached the council about concerns, the council decided to look into those concerns and conduct an investigation. Thank you so much. I would like to think that if I came to you and I had a concern, you would look into it for me too, just like every other Hamilton Township resident would hope to feel. Now, the mayor got very defensive over this and immediately started to defend the people at the animal shelter, and she accused the council of being political, playing political games. Now, I always thought that an elected official is supposed to be nonpartisan. And as much as she would want things to be wonderful at the shelter, still she should be supportive of an investigation, because even if you've had one complaint or one concern from a resident, that should be enough. So the way our mayor reacted was very upsetting to me. And then after the state report came out, and I read the entire report, I was so disappointed in her reaction. What she said basically was that it was mostly like bookkeeping errors. She totally minimized what was said in that report, so much so that I was wondering if she had actually read it.
Probably not.
That's what I'm thinking too, believe me. And that was very upsetting to me also. You know, okay, so ultimately she is responsible for everything that goes on in the township. She's responsible, I should say, for the employees that are under her in the township. And if people weren't doing their jobs and the director wasn't doing his job, ultimately the responsibility lies in her hands, because she should be overseeing all of that. So I can understand where maybe this would be very, very upsetting. It should be very, very upsetting to her. But for her to make public statements trying to minimize it and trying to deflect attention onto other matters really, really bugs me. Now, I was listening to the radio this morning, and Marty Flynn, who is, our temporary mayor, when he was on the radio this morning, he was defending the animal shelter and the administration. And what he said was that the shelter employees actually had been certified to perform euthanasia by the Humane Society. Now, if you go on the Humane Society's website, there is a public statement right there near the top stating that that is absolutely false. So, what's going on with these people that are supposed to be running Hamilton? Then you have Mr. Plunkett, who had said that, yes, at the animal shelter.
Christine, if you wouldn't mind, just wrap it up. And you can come back up again.
Okay, Mr. Plunkett had said that at the animal shelter, the employees would call the vet to get some kind of directive from him as to whether to euthanize the animals or not. And so what ended up happening, the vet comes out.
Can you make that point the second time you come up? Thank you, Christine. I appreciate it. I just gotta be fair to everyone with the first time you're up for 4 minutes. Nick Van Wagner, please.
Nick Van Wagner, 108 Vincent Avenue. I'm here tonight, I'm looking to get help with my neighbor's house. You've been there, Commissioner. It's totally run down, multiple ordinance violations. I've had a nightmare of a time going through everybody that I could think of in the township. I ended on Plunkett and Kenny. Basically, Plunkett, he sent a guy out. They did something, I don't know what they did. He said that they issued violations. She then had the lawn mowed and trimmed a couple branches off of a few items, and that was it. And then he says that there's nothing else that the township could do. I then had to go pull the ordinances up, put it in an email, send it over to the township. After I did that, now it's radio silence. The house is in clear violation of multiple ordinances: property maintenance, nuisance, there's weeds, garbage, ivy, poison ivy.
What is the property address?
It's 102 Vincent Avenue. I have pictures of what it looks like. I don't have enough for everybody, but that's what it looks like now after the township has come out and Plunkett said that there's basically nothing else they could do. So I don't know what to do. I mean, hold on. And then I find out about 2 weeks ago, my neighbor comes up to me and she knows that we are the ones who were making her clean her house up. And she wants to talk to me about what she's going to do so that she can appease me. Why does she know that? I didn't tell her that. I didn't tell anybody that. That's a little bit vindictive.
I think that the last thing I saw is Mr. Scora went out there, the housing inspector. she had said she had retained a roofer. We offered services from Habitat to Humanity to her, because they've offered to assist with people of limited income in performing repairs to their home. She's an older woman, I think it was an auto accident or something, but.
Every time you talk to her, she's got a story.
Okay, well, and that may be, but, did she do anything with the roof? Because I thought the last thing I saw was an email from you saying
No,
that
there's
that's
nothing
great.
done, there's nothing done with anything.
Right.
Okay, well, I'll
She
reach
met
out.
with the contractor, and that's good enough for the township. I mean, there was no plan, she didn't say that she's going to do this or that, I wasn't given any of that information. I mean, 2 weeks, I can't even get an email back at this point. You're in it, you could email me, you could call Plunkett, tell me, email me, what the hell, man?
The last email I recall, and I know.
I sent one Monday,
Okay.
you're on it.
Okay, I will respond to that tomorrow. I'm gonna talk to Squara, but part of this is a balance. You know, we have people that are living in a home, the woman has financial issues. How hard do we wanna come down on her?
I can't
Finding her
sell
doesn't
my
help her.
house
I
if
understand that.
hers is totally,
I understand.
look, it's
very
in clear
difficult.
violation of the law. Her problem or not my problem.
But-
I have a family, man.
But we can't fix her roof. We have no right to do that, so.
The construction official can make her do it, the UCC says that she can do it.
But if she can't afford to do it, where do you go?
You gotta talk to the construction official.
Well, somebody's gotta pay for it.
How is that my problem?
I sympathize with.
So you're
with
telling me
your
that the
issue.
township is just, you can't do anything,
I
you don't know what to
I
do?
sympathize with your issue. We've been trying to work with this woman. Like I said, we offered her help through Habitat for, we offered her grant.
5
loan
years,
programs.
5 years, the township says that they've been working with this woman. I've been dealing with it 3 years. It's worse now than it ever was.
And I rode past the house the other day. I agree with you. It's in bad shape. But I wish I had a magic wand that we could do things.
You could send the guys out and just make it, look, it says it right in the ordinances, what you will do if they do this. It says it right there. They're not doing anything.
Nick, Dave, is it possible to reach back out to the?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to Ken
Okay.
tomorrow again,
Okay.
just about getting out there again.
Okay,
Where we are with this.
thank you Nick, for bringing this to our attention.
Can I add to that? Frustration here comes from when emails aren't answered,
Oh,
correct?
yeah.
I understand, this
I
is
don't
very.
even wanna be here tonight,
No.
man.
But, I know. But it is frustrating when you send an email out that's not answered. Weeks go by and then you have to resend it. And granted, the township may not have an answer, or maybe a complicated one, but even, Mr. Kennedy, what I think people are just looking for is, thank you for your email. Let me look into this and I'll follow up with you. And then they actually follow up and actually have, people wanna see that there's a game plan, that some action is actually being taken instead of just an email ignored.
I apologize to Mr. Van Wagner if I missed an email, and I will look at it tomorrow, because I try to respond to all emails from citizens. You said it was last Monday, you said?
I sent one this Monday. Last Monday, one
Yesterday?
this Monday.
Okay.
I know you guys got a lot of stuff
Yeah.
going on.
But so I apologize for not getting back to you if I missed an email.
Alright, cause I gotta get this, I mean, we're gonna sell our house in a couple years, probably. We're gonna need a bigger house, we got a family now. And I'm not gonna be able to do it if this property is not taken care of. And that's just like, it's just.
Mr. Plunkett did respond, right? There was an email, if I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not mistaken with another person, but I thought he responded saying that they were sending somebody out.
And that's when the
Was
grass
that
got cut, I
recently?
think.
I wonder if
Yeah,
that's
that was a
different.
couple weeks ago.
I think
Okay.
that's when the grass got cut and some of the weeds knocked
And did
out.
he ever follow up with you?
No.
Okay, see, that's part of the problem.
I think one of the issues was she put a lot of the junk in the sheds, but we can't do anything if people have junk in the shed.
Well, the shed doesn't have attached walls.
Yeah, I know, the shed's in pretty bad shape.
Alright.
Thank you Nick.
Thank you.
Mark Van Wagner.
I yield my time, no, I don't yield my time. Mark Van Wagner, 235 Hanson Avenue. That's Star Street in Allentown. So listen, and it's clearly better than Vincent, but only because certain neighbors are allowing it to be dragged down. Look, I'm upset. Nick just gave you, he articulated what he's been experiencing. My son, grew up in Hamilton his whole life. He's lived here, he went to school here, he bought a home here, he's fixed it up. He put his money and his sweat into this house, which is a beautiful home now. He bought a home. He's a responsible homeowner. He's exactly what a good township wants, responsible homeowners. I have empathy for people that struggle financially. Nick has told us this has been going on for 5 years. I have no empathy for a 5-year issue that's been unresolved and has deteriorated. I say if you can't afford to maintain your home, you cannot destroy your neighbor's quality of life and property value because of it. The township needs to use its laws in an effective way. Nobody from the township has come out, to my knowledge, to do anything to repair this property. Is it in violation of ordinances? We have an ordinance that says no ivy, and particularly no poison ivy, within 20 feet of your property line. There is ivy that is literally in bushes that are on the adjoining property. There's one shrub that is bumping into this shared driveway that my son has. He can't cut it without risk of coming down with poison. This has been pointed out repeatedly in lack of response. His information, which is this is just a bridge too far, was shared with his neighbor. He didn't share it. A municipal employee obviously did. I've heard multiple reports of individuals who've reported problems to the township with neighbors or homes or other businesses that they have a problem with, and all of a sudden that person to whom the report was made knows who they are. Our website promises confidentiality. The law guarantees us confidentiality. I would like to ask the council to consider opening an investigation into residents that can provide you with information that believes that someone working for us on our tax dollars is providing their information to people that they have no right to do it. I'd like to know who it is that's doing it, and I'd like to have action taken to hold them accountable. If they're doing it, in my opinion, they should be thrown out. That's, where I come from, that would have been an honesty violation, and you're out the door. You violated the law. So let's see, working on behalf of the violators, what it seems like. I know we're always asked to be considerate to the homeowner. At what point does Hamilton Township, using its authority, work on behalf of the good homeowners that are maintaining their property and show the level of consideration to them that they seem willing to show to the ones who aren't maintaining? We need to do that. We got to get there. I read through our ordinances. We have phenomenal ordinances when it comes to commercial properties. I hear sometimes when the authorities, the officials say, well, we can only do so much. There's more they can do within our ordinance right now. They're not doing it. The property is non-compliant. The ivy is overgrown. The poison could infect my son, my daughter-in-law, my grandson, or me if I visit there. Not to mention the neighbors on the other side. We have ordinances, we're not even enforcing those. If you look at what exists for commercial properties, it's so much better. If our ordinances are insufficient to give us the tool to hold these flagrant, eyesore homeowners accountable, maybe we ought to change the ordinance. Maybe we ought to adopt some additional rules in our ordinances and say it's not just for overgrowth. Maybe it's for all the other stuff too. I do agree with Councilman Sherman, and I am annoyed. I told my son, work through the officials, contact the appropriate people, give them time to look into the matter and give them time to respond. Don't jump on it. Give it a week. A week seems like an eternity when you're a person that's has a problem. But we know what it's like. You've got a week's worth of emails and a week's worth of business on your desk. Give them that. But if a week goes by and the person to whom you were contacting says nothing to you, well, then that person's not doing their job. So he's owed a response. We need to bring that other property up into compliance. And he'll work with whomever it is in the town that's going to do that for him. But let's not go radio silent here. We're hearing way too much of that. Thank you. Thank you.
Gary Ivory.
During the last meeting, I raised some questions about a study, a feasibility study that was produced back in showing my age, 2014, that involved Congressman Chris Smith and our mayor. And the feasibility study was to make a determination about whether anything could be done about the flooding that occurs at Assunpink Creek. Now, I haven't been able to find what the results of this study has. I don't know if anybody could provide that information, but I know that there's a good friend of mine who would appreciate that information. Just as a point of information further, since 1971, there have been 64 floods in the Assunpink Creek. That comes out to just under 1.5 floods per year. And I guess the question I have is has the township set aside any monies for wetland reclamation? Is it part of the master plan that a certain amount of money has been set aside where they can purchase some of these homes perhaps and maybe preserve the wetlands as they're meant to be? And I don't quite understand how Lawrence Township is being able to buy property from the township and take away the natural barriers that exist to stop flooding.
It's private property.
Yeah, it wasn't township property, it was sold. And the township, I haven't heard anybody in support of this application, but the property owner has a right to make the application to the planning board. The planning board will hear it and make its decision as to whether it should proceed. So.
Should the person that
Yeah, go ahead.
I interrupted, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, with regard to the study, my understanding, that's an Army Corps of Engineers study.
That's correct.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they take an eternity. That's been most people's experience with the Army Corps of Engineers.
5 years. I think it has more to do with Representative Smith, but
No,
that's just an opinion.
he's been pushing it. Now, I did see they've opened up the Assunpink in the city of Trenton for a short distance where they were running it underground.
Right.
How much that will alleviate flooding, I don't know, but that was the problem. You had that bottleneck in Broad Street where it went underground and it's supposed to go all back up.
Just out of curiosity, well, I'm talking about my friend Joe.
And
And-
Trish. I
Yes,
live next to Jack.
you too. Who should they contact to get some information about whether they would be eligible to receive funds from the township for this, so that they can sell their property and perhaps use funds from the Wetland Reclamation Act?
The state at one time had a fund to purchase some of that. I think they called it Blue Acres, I guess.
Wouldn't that be part of the township master plan?
No, that was just the state and they determined, but I think the state used all that money. I don't think there's any money for that anymore to purchase homes that were in flood areas. I think the federal government still does it sometimes. So maybe contact Congressman Smith's office to see if there's a federal program out there for to purchase homes that are in flood areas.
So Dave, there's also, there used to be a dam on the Assunpink which failed. And I'm wondering if the failure of that dam may be contributing to the flooding issues in that neighborhood.
I remember when I was young, they were constantly dredging the lake right there along Sweetbriar, and it was a lake back then. Now it's a stream.
With a little waterfall.
Yeah, and so it held on a lot more water back in those days. I don't know, but that's generally under state and federal control, the waterways, so we don't have anything to do with that.
Who would we contact?
I would suggest Congressman Smith's office and maybe local legislators, Assemblyman Benson, D'Angelo, Senator Greenstein.
Thank you.
Okay?
So there are, with that neighborhood, there are sort of two sets of problems as I see it. The flooding problem is a very difficult problem. We're gonna have to continue to work with the residents of the neighborhood to see what solutions we can come up with, and perhaps we can work together to see what we can uncover for them on that. The second set of problems are solvable problems with some more attention from the administration. When I did that walkthrough, I went through the park, and again, we could, this is a conversation we can have, but there are several examples of, sorry, I'm taking your time.
No, please, go ahead.
There are several examples of actions that the township can take. For example, the township maintains the land along the Assenbank. It doesn't get mowed. So we're talking about waist high, what could actually be a beautiful amenity for this neighborhood and for the township is, littered with garbage and has weeds that are growing, several feet high.
Which is a point that Joe has brought to council on several occasions.
And so, I'd be happy to follow up with you.
We can talk about that. My understanding, that's state property. The state's supposed to.
But the township mows it.
I think because we've stepped on it and done it on some state property because the state never does it.
And that's fine, and the thing is, it's not really getting done by anyone. It's government-owned property.
It may be a little bit of an orphan in our regular schedule since it's not on our property, but let's talk about that.
We'll talk about
We can see if we
There's
can.
also a park at a pocket park.
Park in there, yes.
In the neighborhood, which I would say there's some issues with the maintenance of that park. We can talk about that.
Okay.
And there are several homes that the sidewalk isn't properly maintained. It's a safety hazard. The same issues that we're hearing about from Mr. Van Wagner.
That's a lot of neighborhoods, unfortunately, the sidewalks.
So.
How do you get 1.5 floods a year, every year?
Yeah, I know that's a major problem. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You said to contact Congressman Smith. 2011, I'm sorry, Joe, Mr. Marino. 2011, okay? I had a massive heart attack in January. By the grace of God, I was at a gym, so I got saved by a nurse, okay? That same year, I lost a brother, Michael, he had a heart attack. And then we had that flood. 2011 was August 28th, okay? And Congressman Smith, and God rest his soul, Mr. Benzavango, they stood on my property out in my front yard and they told me they were going to do something to help me, okay? I have called Smith numerous times. I still have not heard anything from him. Benzavango, who knows where he's at? Jack Rafferty told me back in '75 that it was a 100-year flood. I'd be dead by the time it flooded again, okay? I was 27 years old back in '75. I survived Nam. I came home. They told me to lead a normal life, get married, have kids, So in '99 I got flooded, okay? Now I'm a 52-year-old man. And now 2011. I'm going to be 70 years old this coming Friday. And I've been waiting 45 years for the township or somebody to help me. And they're supposed to help veterans. I don't see them doing a damn thing for me.
I sympathize with you with the flood zone, that's beyond the township.
It wasn't a flood zone when I bought it. In '73, when I bought my house, I did not have to have flood insurance. But they moved the freeway over, okay? If you remember, Route 1 used to just go into Lawrence. And then they extended it.
Okay, you're right, they made the.
So the creek came closer. And that's why I got flooded out in '75. Thank you.
Next up, we have Brenda Locasto. Locasto?
Hi, good evening, Brenda Locastro. I'm at 23 Rolling Lane, and I'd like to
thank you for taking my comment and preface it by saying that this is my first council meeting. I'm here because of the animal shelter. And as other people have said, I'm very moved and upset with the administration's response to it by defending it when it's really a house of horrors. I'm a pet lover, a pet owner. I read the state report in its entirety, and one of the things that stood out to me as a registered nurse is about missing controlled substances.
Thank you.
Yes. In my job, I would be prosecuted. I would lose my nursing license and my livelihood. It's laughable that Mayor Yady is concerned about medical marijuana, and here a controlled substance has not been accounted for or documented properly, and it's just gone into the community, down the toilet, in someone's arm, up someone's nose, I don't know. But in my profession, I would be fired, censured, and lose my license. I really expect some accountability and some repercussions for those you hold accountable with your investigation. So I appreciate you going forward with that.
Next up, we have Joanne Bruno.
Joanne Bruno, 35 Argonne Avenue. And first I want to say thank you to Councilman Ty for walking the areas with Trish and Joe, and I hope that you will help, the council will help them to fix their problems very soon. I think that Joe especially has been waiting a very long time. Next, Wendy had to leave earlier, and what she wanted to tell you was that the drugs that supposedly are no longer at the shelter were there on Saturday. So they are still there.
There you go.
Wow. They are still there. And I have a question. Is there any way that there can be a ban, a temporary ban possibly, on euthanizing the animals at the shelter? That it only be done by a veterinarian? And I also heard that the carcasses of the animals that they've been killing go into a dumpster.
Yes, they do.
And they don't even, like most shelters, I don't know if many that don't, have the animals cremated. So, I would like you to please consider banning them from euthanizing the animals. One other issue that I have is we've been talking about properties this evening and how they're in disrepair. There's a home on Flock Road that every time I go by there, I wonder who in the world has that property and why do they continue to allow it to look the way it does. I think the address is number 413. It's a huge property. It has a barn. It has trees that are cut and they're stacked up. The home is in complete disrepair with paint peeled and windows broken, and who in the world owns that property that nobody has said, fix it, get those trees out of there and make it look nice. All the other houses on that street look beautiful, and right in the middle of it is this eyesore. So I just wanted to bring that up, and I hope that somebody looks into that. Thank you.
Ms. Bruno, I'm sorry, I was there Saturday. How did she know the drugs were there?
She didn't.
I asked this, I've been on recording,
Yeah.
so they told me that they have it there.
On Saturday?
On
Yes,
Saturday.
it was
Yeah.
there.
The Tazazole.
Telazol.
That was there.
That's what they said on record.
Mr. Kenny?
Who told you that?
Wendy Sturgeon.
Okay,
We
who
went
told her
for a
that?
tour.
Who told her it was there?
No, she saw it.
She see it because I was on the tour, I didn't see it. I'm not questioning that she saw it, but I missed that.
Okay, I will.
She's not here to answer.
No,
but-
so I can't
Okay.
answer.
Because my information is that once Dr. Campbell from the state told us that he determined that we shouldn't have it, after he previously told us it was okay, we had it, that it was then all returned to Dr. Carter. So I'll follow up on that, because
Okay,
it should all
thank
been
you.
returned to Dr. Carter.
And I have one more thing now that I just talked about the shelter again. Why is the area where the pets are running, they have it fenced in now? It's got gravel in it. I mean, not gravel, the stuff that you put in your driveway if you don't have it paved. What's it called? And why are they letting the dogs run on that? It's gonna hurt their feet. Why isn't it grass or rubber mulch or something? I don't understand. We spent $1.1 million on this renovation. And when I think of, if I bought a home for 1.1 million, I don't think it would look like what we have at that animal shelter. Where did all that money go? I don't see it. I don't see it. We got ripped off as someone else said.
Well, it was bid, and that was the low bid. I think we were all concerned that the numbers came in that
And
high.
not everything got done. There's no isolation. It didn't even meet all the requirements. I don't understand. I really don't. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bruno. Next up, we have Scott Adams.
I'm just gonna make another quick comment about the animal shelter. The other issue with the animal shelter is a lot of times when I don't know how they find out, but from what I understand, recently there was a dog that had a litter of puppies there.
They won't let us take it.
I'm sorry?
They won't let us take it.
And for some reason, I think it's the Burlington Pet Shelter, is it? Volunteered to pull the dog, take care of the dogs, because they felt that they could take care of the dogs better, or I assume. And for some reason, Todd Benzavango, without reason, will not let them pull the dogs and take them to a better environment. And also, I believe it was August 2nd, there was another dog there that had a ruptured mammillary gland, is that how you say it? And for some reason, the dog, I think another organization wanted to pull the dog, get the dog treatment, and from what I understand, Todd Benzavango refused to get the dog treatment, okay? And I just want to share with you, which is the main reason why I decided to come down here tonight, is this story on the internet that I find very disturbing, okay? Let me share it. That's what I want to say.
I'll be happy to speak to Mr. Benzavango why the mother and the pups can't be released to somebody.
I appreciate that, and like I say,
I don't understand that either.
I mean, honestly, my feeling, just gut feeling, is that's someone who needs to be needs to resign besides the animal control officer.
Mr. Kenny, if I may, Council President,
Yes.
the puppies, the pictures of the puppies were taken by me, and I gave them to everyone, whoever wanted them. Todd, when I was there with another person, Todd said to me that those dogs aren't going anywhere, that they will be with me because I don't want to, and I maybe, I'm not going to say exactly because I can't recall the exact, but he basically said he doesn't want to cause any additional stress to the mother or the children or the babies, and he's not going to release them until they're about 8 weeks, until they have all their shots. But he said he will not release them. Now, the way I don't know what is right or wrong with puppies. I don't do that. That's not my thing. But I do know that Todd is in no position right now to dictate what happens to those animals. If we're able to find a foster family, somebody who even wants to take them in as a family, those dogs when, according to whatever the medical procedure is in terms of puppies, should be released to someone that can actually care for them. They should not be in a shelter.
They can be fostered now. I'm sure there are plenty of people in this room and they will
Please, if we just can hold your comments till you come up to the podium. Can you just wait to make that comment?
I just want to finish by saying, Mr. Kenny, we need to do whatever we can to get all those animals out of there. They don't belong to anybody.
Mrs. Shermer, I agree with you 100% on that. I spoke to some representatives of some other organizations, and I feel we should, you know, I know AFU's done a great job for us.
Oh my gosh.
But,
No, they haven't.
I know there's rivalries.
Whoa.
Wait, please.
But I don't see why other groups can't be involved and certainly can take the animals out of there to have them adopted.
Exactly. I do not agree with one organization being in charge of where those animals go. It's a group effort. We have so many wonderful people in this audience and outside in Hamilton, and organizations that give everything they have to make sure these animals find a nice home. So Todd, like I personally feel he's in no position to be dictating to anybody where those animals are going or when they're going or not going. And as far as euthanasia goes, I would like to make a statement here and ask the council to make sure that moving forward, there are no euthanasia taking place from this moment on. Unless there's a true emergency, but that animal will be taken to a veterinarian who would make that call and take responsibility and document that. Outside of that, not one animal should be put down at the shelter at all. I would like to know perhaps if there's support for that. I mean, I don't want to just say it and.
They should make a recommendation.
Right? So we can make a recommendation, but as a governing body, we can make a recommendation. But it's the executive body that would decide whether that recommendation is followed or not.
It would almost be a resolution, you know, supporting the councilwoman's position, right? As I'm sure she can articulate a little cleaner for us to.
I don't think I can.
So, you would like a resolution to have a moratorium, on any euthanasia outside of emergency medically necessary. Outside of euthanasia is performed by a vet. How about that?
Yep.
Correct. If there's an animal that is deemed very sick, an animal that euthanasia is the right humane choice, that animal will be transported to the appropriate veterinary clinic, and they would take care of that process. But no one at the shelter should be conducting any euthanasia. That's like a no-brainer.
Unreasonable. There are questions about whether the staff has been properly trained yet or not. We're getting misinformation or conflicting information on that. So I think it's
I think
reasonable.
There were two that had attended the humane. Something over in Pennsylvania. The state said it wasn't approved, so they were both trained now by Dr. Porter, but and the others. Well, he was at the time. But you know, that's a sense of the council.
So, I mean, so I'm not opposed to that in theory, but my concern now is we don't have Dr. Carter, right? And just how this would and I know it's just an encouragement, right? I know we can't do anything that's legally binding here, and I'm literally thinking out loud. So excuse me if I'm being inarticulate, but I just want to make sure we have a vet who could actually do this. God forbid you have an animal who needs to be put down.
How many vets are assisting us in the animal shelter right now, Dave?
I don't know. Dr. Carter said he would still assist. Columbus assists. I spoke to my personal vet. He said he'd help us out if Dr. Horn. He said he would help out if there were a problem, if we're jammed up. So I think we can certainly reach out to vets. We've actually reached out to some vets that may be close to retirement to see if they could spend a considerable period of time at the shelter.